Hey, what is up, everybody? MythVision podcast here. I'm Derek Lambert, the host of this channel, and I wanted to do something different. Come the 13th, I'm having to take off to go visit my mother-in-law. We found really bad news recently that she is in stage 4 cancer, stomach cancer, and it's a pretty rough version of stomach cancer, and that is my wife's mom, who is going through a pretty, life altering, life complicating situation. And so we're going to be heading on the 13th up to visit her up till the 21st. And I'm trying to get all the live streams I can in and be active and hang out with you. And I thought, I didn't have a scheduled stream today. I did, but it wasn't meant to be for today. They rescheduled. And I said, let me fill this in with getting some MythVision fans, friends to come on, share maybe how MythVision's influenced you, have cool hangout discussion where we can all come together and kind of share like, hey, look, this was a cool thing when I discovered this, or this scholar, whatever, a hangout. And of course, you don't all have to agree on everything under the sun. We keep it focused on the scholarship. We keep it focused on the research and just enjoy each other's company. But I wanted to let you know, like, I'm wanting to be more active. I want to do this more often. I think it's important, that I'm hanging out, connected with you. It helps keep me grounded and focused on doing this and continuing to do this work. But at the end of the day, I really do wish life was different. It really sucks. My mother-in-law caught that last minute, too late. I knew something wasn't right a few years ago, and then, we got the bad news. And I'm like, man, I really hope science advances to a place where we can help cure these kinds of illnesses, find a way to get past them so that we don't die. We're all going to face death, but like not due to that too early, Anyway, real quick, I just want to go through the chat and say hello. What's up, James Jones? Baron, good to see you here. Gamirkin, Michael, good to see you. Michael Gamirkin is Russell Gamirkin's son, by the way. For those who are fans of Russell Gamirkin and his approach to scholarship, this is his son. Good to see you, Michael. Wendyberg, the mother Wendyberg. Hello, good to see you here. Let's see, who else do we have? Agro, good to see you. Greetings all. Beachcomber, good to see you. Cauldron Gaming, Worship, faces I know and some I'm not 100% sure on. Recording King, good to see you. Jojo, Average Joe, Dware, Pondling Dan, good to see you. Yeah, I know, it's sad. It is sad. It sucks. It really. Sabio, what's up? Good to see you. It's been a while. At least since I've recognized the name. I haven't seen the name around in a while. Symbolic Studies, hey, good to see you. And Kyle Axington, good to see you. Anti-Contrarian in the house on the phone side. I could see the different sides. I know some people have complained that it splits the community, but YouTube likes doing the phone format too. I don't know why they do that, but you got to roll with the punches. Beam, good to see you. And the Marks, long time no see. Don't remember the name as much as I remember the face. Lucas, good to see you, Lucas. My editor there, John Mullish, good to see you. And okay, Wade, what's up? Hey, Wade.
Hey, Derek, how's it going? Give me a sec. Hey, buddy, how's it going, man?
It's going. Good to see you, man. I've never met you. I don't think, at least not face to face.
Yeah, we talked with voice text and stuff like that. So yeah, I'm really excited about this show. It sounds like it's going to be a wonderful, wonderful turnout so far, right?
Yes, it is. I really appreciate that.
No, and condolences with your mother-in-law. I just got in on the tail end of that. Those sudden illnesses are so difficult. Yeah,
life is wild. I mean, you're 100% right. Yeah, I wish it wasn't that way, but yeah, we caught that just a few years too late. a few years too late.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah, well, life is unpredictable, and that's why it's such a kind of an amazing journey at times. It's like it's not the destination, it's the journey along the way. I just said goodbye to a 20-year friend of mine who's moving out of town, and I told him, I said, dude, this is another chapter in your book.
Yeah, it is. It is. Yeah, Wade. Yeah, we have voice message back and forth. I just never met you
Totally.
face to face, and thank you for showing up. Appreciate it.
Yeah, no worries, dude. And I totally appreciate your show. As you kind of know, I did some of this sort of work many years ago. I did a bunch of podcasting and sort of was one to get the ball rolling on the whole humanist / atheist, mythicist. That I knew Acharya S. and I talked to
Yes.
her on occasions. Hell of a good woman. I met her down in Olympia, Washington once. I was on vacation and was heading down that direction. She's like, yeah, coming over. And we didn't talk, about her work. We just talked about her life and what she was doing and her kid and stuff like that.
Yeah.
But she caught a lot of flack for her work, and sometimes rightfully so, but typically she was on the details. I don't think she was totally correct, but on the whole idea of syncretism,
I'm
spot
not.
on.
I mean, who is though? Like, I mean, there's,
Exactly.
like every few years, a new scholar's outdating another scholar. By the way, I'm going to add a few people here to the panel. Sabio, good to see you here.
What up, Derek? How you doing, man? I watch your show all the time, man. I might not type in the chat, but I'm always watching and learning from them geniuses that you be having presented some of that. Very informative, enlightening.
You're breaking up.
To do, bro, for real. Keep it
Thank
up.
you.
You always got my support.
Thank you so much. Look, you broke up for a second there, and man, you've been around for a while. I remember you 4 and 5 years back. You've been here and supported. Wow. Really appreciate that. And of course, we're trying to step it up. We want to have more of these conversations. I've kind of recently, I don't know if you both noticed, entered into kind of engaging a little debate, a little here and there. It's fun. It's fun. By the way, in the background, if you could show your face just so I know there's a legit person behind the platform, that would be great. And okay, good. Thank you, appreciate it. Yeah. So I just wanted to make sure they're legit. What's up?
Hey, Derek, how's it going?
It's going. Look, we're getting a party going already.
I know, right? Yeah. not to beat the dead horse too much, but seriously, like, my condolences to your stepmother. I lost a grandmother to stage 4 lung cancer quite a while ago, and I know how hard that can be. Watching somebody kind of slowly go, not ideal, right? We kind of want this philosophical, either a nice philosophical, surrounded by your family, I'm gonna go, it's just my time, and or like, a glorious death, something worthy of singing songs and writing poetry about, so to speak. But it is life, and this is our path, right? Can't really control that. We can, in as much as the stuff we consume and everything like that, but sometimes it just happens. So my condolences, but thanks for having us on. I appreciate it.
Absolutely. Again, Sabio, I loved having you on the shot, man. You're looking good. It'd be cool to have you facially be able to interact and hang out with us. But if you can't, I understand that.
There he is.
Yeah, look at that pretty face.
Boy, hey, a fellow long hair. Look at that.
Hey,
long hair's got to stick together.
Guys, I used to have a ponytail that was down to my waist.
Put a filter on him. Put a long hair filter on him. He can join us.
Yeah, it's unfortunate. We were just talking. Wade was just bringing up. There was Acharya S, and I think she was taken by cancer too, if I'm not mistaken. Wade.
Yeah, she had breast cancer, and I think she tried chemo for a while, and once the sickness kind of set in from all that, she tried sort of naturalistic remedies, holistic herbs and stuff like that, and that stuff is rather ineffective as far as I'm concerned. And I have a picture of her somewhere when she was in the hospital, kind of on her deathbed. But yeah. But she, when I met her, she had a 7-year-old son at the time. So she left behind, a kid and a legacy, a good legacy.
Right.
So,
yeah. It sucks. I wish life wasn't this way. And
but it's predestined, right?
Yeah, I mean, there's different ways to look at that. Yeah. Look, I thought, what am I going to do tonight? I don't have a stream, and I could just go watch TV, but I got to get some stuff in case some hiccups happen when I make the journey to go visit her, and I don't get the computer set up in time, or I have a hard time figuring out a location. I'm like, I got to hang out with y'all every day as humanly possible until I go on this trip. And I'm just there to ride along and support her, because that's, what can you say? I mean, you have to ride the wave of life and experience it and just try to be there for her and let her know she's not alone.
Well, and isn't that what life is about? I mean, philosophically, for me, I've always been the kind of person to help those who are like less fortunate or who have drug addictions or alcohol problems, and just my philosophy in life is that those of us who have should be helping those who have not, or
Right.
those of us who are well should be helping those who aren't well. And you're doing exactly that.
Yeah. I'd want the same in exchange for me. Danny, Kyle, what's up?
Hey man, how's it going? This is my wife, Chelsea.
Hey, Chelsea.
Just wanted to say hi and join the conversation.
Hey, good to have you here. I'm opening it up, to friendly people who are interested in having good conversation, and good to see you.
Yeah.
So where's everybody from?
Yeah,
I mean,
I think
Well, I'm out in the Wild West.
St. Louis,
I'm in
Missouri.
Wyoming.
St. Louis, Missouri, but I'm originally from Pasadena, California.
St. Louis is a great town. I was there like many years ago. St. Louis, Mo.
I live in Wyoming, and I'm originally from California as well.
And I'm all the way up north in Alaska.
Wow.
Oh, awesome. You ever been to Homer?
I've been close to Homer. I've been down to Seward and down on the Kenai, all the way up to Fairbanks. I've been to the Arctic Circle, but Homer's beautiful.
We pulled in there when I was in the Navy. We pulled in there on our destroyer. Is one of the best ports I've ever been to. Town of 500 people, small town America. It's perfect. Everyone has AKs.
Pretty much, and solar panels and gardens. I mean, they're pretty well self-sufficient up there.
Those are my people.
We got Kraken Ford in the chat too, for those who don't know.
Kraken Ford. I've got Germanic material loaded up, ready to go.
He's awesome.
Yo,
He
I
rocks.
learned a lot from Craig and Ford, especially about Darius Pater. Thank you for bringing that. Darius Pater, that taught me a lot about the Indo-European sky deities and the pantheons and how they transform in different epochs or different empires and different peoples. Thank you so much for that, Craig and Ford. I appreciate it.
Youth Pater. Jupiter.
Yes.
Pater.
Hey,
You know what's great? You know what's crazy though about that?
What's that?
So I was just talking, I am a Germanic heathen, and I do get around in like the various, I dip my toes into like the Hellenic circles, see what they're saying. I dip my toes over in the Hindus, see what they're saying. And, like right now I have all my subjects pulled up for all of our sacred groves. Sacred groves have just been massive all throughout history. And Donar or Thunor or Thor is associated with oak trees, and he is a sky god, right? And protector of mankind. And the sacred groves around those old oaks were where religion and law kind of combined. Same with the Jupiter cult, and Jupiter governs among the sacred oaks as well. And so you have all of these, it's basically the same deity, and then you go all the way to India and you get Indra. And all of them wield some kind of bludgeoning weapon to do with lightning or some other such thing. And they all have association with these great oak groves all across the world, you know.
Real quick. Don't mean to interrupt. DC Clips, good to see you. And of course, Caleb Jackson, good to have you back.
Good to finally see you, Derek.
Yes. Thanks for joining the panel, everybody.
You know, I would think that if you look at the imagery of a lightning bolt striking a tree, and probably like an oak tree, it would probably be a pretty significant, image to behold for an early group of people.
So in the story,
and that's what you get, like those deities with those mighty weapons. And
so during the Frankish conquest of the Saxons, you have Charlemagne waged bloody war against the Germanic heathens and all the Merovingian emperors after that with the funding of the church. And there's a very famous story along that line of the destruction of Donar's oak, Thor's oak, basically. Donar is the old Saxon term for him. And during the Saxon Wars, a lot of propaganda was produced where you have, he's a saint now. Goodness gracious, I'm forgetting. He was a saint, and his legend, the way he became a saint was he went in there. I'll pull up the name here pretty quick. But he went into Donar's sacred oak, the place that they say it's in Hesse, Germany, or around Paderborn, Germany, where it once stood. And he sundered the tree. It says he walks up, and with one swing of his axe, God made him so powerful. He took a swing at the tree, and it sundered the entire tree. It just splintered in a million pieces. The destruction. Thor couldn't protect his own tree, and all of his acolytes and stuff are telling this big story about their saint and everything, because they had the backing of the military and the church funding them, so they could just walk in and do whatever. But that was at the height of the Saxon Wars, a 30-year bloody civil war of survival of paganism in Saxony. And so those sacred groves were key to destroy from Uppsala, Sweden, all the way down. Sorry, I hit my desk. A little obnoxious, but
is there any way you can lower your volume just a little bit?
Sorry.
Just a little, brother. No, you're good. You're good. I have to vet people who are coming on just because someone came in and, clearly hateful. They ruin it for everybody. I mean, it's ridiculous how people are like that.
Is this volume good? Like right now, how I'm talking?
Yeah, that's much better.
Yeah.
Much better. Because it was peaking beyond. Oh, it's getting loud again.
Oh, sorry. I have tinnitus, and sometimes I get a little too loud. But anyways, yeah. But they had to sunder the groves all across Europe in order to delegitimize it.
Oh, what? Say what, Wade?
I was going to say I thought too that oaks were sacred in the Druidic traditions.
Yep.
The Druidic priest would climb the oak tree to get the mistletoe down, which was a sign of eternal life in their religion. So those oak groves were, and apple groves, as I recall, were sacred.
Yeah, no, that's it. That's kind of. I just talked to some Druid guys, some spiritually Celtic pagan folks, and we were just talking about oak trees the whole time. They have whole language, like in Wales or in their tongue, Cymru, it's all about the oak tree and the Druids. It's just how significant.
I haven't studied much of this religion in depth. This is something I need to explore further, and I'd love to dive deeper into. Krakenford just notes, oak trees caught fire easily compared to other trees, hence why they are notable. So it might make natural sense why
Interesting.
someone might have seen that and went, hey, whoa, you know.
Well, and I do know the Vikings, because I'm a mariner, I'm a big time boater. The Vikings used oak trees for key components within the boats themselves because of the rot resistance, and the strength of the oak tree was unparalleled.
Interesting.
That would make total sense. And it has sort of a holy context. Like we're about to embark across the sea. We're going to cast runes, and we're going to make sacrifices to Thor in order to bless the winds that are in our sails. And probably the oak might have, using sacred materials. There's this talk of attunement. Like, are you attuned with this type of rock or this type of wood? So yeah, definitely something there.
Got a little bit of an echo there.
There's interesting connection, I think, in there's a interesting connection with sailing and that tar patumum substance, and you find that is really interesting in the way that it plays out in a lot of bitumen, that it plays out with other kind of substances and oils, and even like women and their product, and how it's used in potions. Like the bitumen had a unique color and function in the early world that was unparalleled. I guess technology. It's over there.
Is it? Wait, so bitumen is a sap or like a tar they produce?
Big connection.
It's a naturally occurring tar-like substance.
That tar that you find in the water.
So it comes up from the earth.
Vikings, the Vikings used it to seal the joints in their boats. So maybe it also had a sacred, relegation to it as well. There is a really interesting, and I'll be brief. This might be a little bit off topic, but there's an interesting account by an Arab guy. His last name's
Ibn Fadlan.
Ibn Fadlan, and that is an amazing account of the Rus people in Russia, the Russian Vikings, and their burial practices, their hygiene practices. And Derek, this is interesting too, because I know the Bible uses a lot of literature as propaganda. Ibn Fadlan used his account of the Vikings in a propagandistic way. He made them look like they were slobs and unclean and unhealthy and morally debauched and all that kind of stuff. But it's an interesting read if you want to.
I need to look into this, because I do know that it wasn't just, found its way into the Quran, but I do know that even in like Josephus, there's hints of this barrier between the Scythian northern tribes, and you have Alexander the Great building this Gog-Magog kind of separation barrier between them in the north and the south, and then of course later apocalyptic ideas become very important for that region, and that this wall would come down and it would like cause the enemies that were cannibalistic and almost like demonic evil.
They always made them look like psychopaths. They made the Scythians look like maniacs.
Yeah. But it's interesting to see how that just finds its way down, in the propaganda, just kind of gets passed on. It's real interesting.
Yeah.
By the way, good to meet you.
Well,
Grant.
It's interesting too, Derek. Yeah.
Sorry for
Derek, your show
here.
I was going to say, Derek, your show talks about a lot about the interplay between societies and the swapping of ideas, and I think it's not well known by a lot of people just how interconnected a lot of these societies were. The Vikings traveled hundreds, if not thousands of miles. They made it all the way up into the Mediterranean, and when people got together in different cultures, they mixed and mingled with these people, not just
they were the bodyguards for Byzantine emperors. They were the only ones chosen as bodyguards, the Varangians. And there's actually runes in the second floor of the Hagia Sophia right now. There's Old Norse runes that translate to something like Halfdan was here. Halfdan was here. They're carving runes all over it.
Wow.
And when the emperor didn't pay them, they sacked Constantinople. They sacked the town.
Just because.
No, because they didn't get paid. It's like your honor, our oath to you is that we would get paid, right? So oath making is huge. You swear an oath upon a ring, you're divinely bound. You're spiritually bound to that oath, or else you're considered, it's a term, it's called a neathing, a less than nothing. You know
that reminds me of you may have been so deep in the lore, you probably aren't as much of a fan, but the Viking show really did. I loved that show. I'm not gonna lie. Like the one that was on the Discovery or whatever it was, the whole series.
It was History.
Yeah,
I think
when they made it to the Arab lands and seeing that like what was the guy Floki walks in there and they're like totally devout and they're in their mosques and they're doing their thing, and he's like really like you could tell he's like not getting this, like what's happening here. These people are so seriously like bowing down and like taking their religion so serious. I find those kind of shows, when I talk to real experts, they go, look, they get a lot of sensational stuff, but there's some good stuff. And they say, but it's a good way to get like everyone interested in the topic. Just like I recently had, I had a classicist talk about Roman history on Julius Caesar. And it's actually Adrian Goldsworthy. We're going to talk about Augustus next, but he has his book on Caesar that we did. And we talked about Rome. I love the show Rome, but it is completely like playing games, you know what I mean? Hollywood style with the reality compared to our sources, but it still gets like a lot of people interested in the topic that aren't interested to begin with.
I think the Roman historians reading Tacitus is like a movie in and of itself. To me personally, I read the annals of history from Tacitus and it's like an action movie. This army came and, Caesar rose up to crush the Gauls, and it's all these crazy accounts. It's so entertaining. How could you not be entertained? Are you not entertained?
Right.
No, you're not entertained. I think the book of Acts is kind of like that too. I think the Gospels are like action adventure stories. They're kind of like the Marvel comics of their day. Because I mean, what did people have to read back then, right? So, people wrote these stories, these annals and stuff. And if you follow Paul, there's always some kind of action. He gets shipwrecked. He gets bitten by a snake. He gets taken to Rome.
Yeah, the misadventures.
The misadventures of Paul and the disciples or the apostles.
I know Caleb.
Oh no, go ahead.
I was thinking what Caleb's thinking about that. You know what I mean? I'm sure Caleb has a different take on this, but maybe you have something to contribute on that in terms of like, do you see that fanciful kind of narrative in there as a Christian?
I'm sorry, I was like 60% listening. I was reading on something. You're saying that Gospels and Acts in terms of comparing them to, what was it again?
Yeah, like adventure, novelistic kind of adventure style. Like there's some kind of literary their intention is, in a sense, there's some kind of epic
what a literary analysis would call historical docudramas. They got some history in them, but there's a lot of drama, a lot of stories and storylines and characters that may have been historical or not, that were interjected into specific events that they probably didn't participate in.
Like the Odyssey.
That's a common writing technique.
Yeah, what are your thoughts, Caleb?
Yeah, no, you're good. So I think that as you have stories of Jesus that are being passed around orally, right? Naturally, people like to add to stories and make them more dramatic in that sense. So I don't think the Gospels and Acts are like shot for shot documentaries.
Right,
like this is exactly what happened, right? I think if you went back in time, a lot of it is dressed up. I think Jesus's words, while not, they're not verbatim transcripts, right? Obviously there's sometimes like in John, you can't really tell where Jesus's words stop and where the authors start in terms of some of the allusions there. So I think there certainly is a lot of dramatization, as there is with virtually any historical work. But I think that there are, of course, real memories there. And I think for the bulk of it, the outline that you see in the Gospels and Acts in terms of Jesus being an itinerant teacher who did miracles and exorcism and was crucified, I think all of that's pretty consistent. And same with like Jesus teaching in parables or Jesus teaching ethics, right? So that's kind of what the whole quest for the historical Jesus for the last, century and a half now, if not more, has sort of been about. But yeah, I think that that's perfectly consistent with what we see in most of ancient history.
By the way, fair warning to our friends here. Hold on, where did our guest go? We had another person I was trying to get in. Dave, there he is. Dave, show your camera, Dave. Just letting the panel know, like, Caleb is, I would say, if not my favorite Christian, who I don't know if you would call yourself an apologist. I'd say top 3. You're like one of my top 3 Christian buddies.
You said first in like a few weeks ago, so I hope I'm not falling down that list.
Yeah,
there,
no. But I can't leave Jonathan Sheffield out, who made my cartoon intro and outro. I mean, come on, dude. Jonathan's a good dude, and I know him, and I met him in person, and I'm telling you, real down to earth guy. Like, we went to a place in Texas. We went, like, I was at a conference. It was an atheist conference a few years back, and we went to this fun show, and bro. It was this wild show, and he's on stage, and they're like making him practically almost strip. And I'm like, now this is my kind of Christian friend right here. I'm like, yeah, and he was just having a hoot. We were just having fun.
Getting a little Bacchic in here.
Yes.
Yeah. I did see him debate.
Yes.
It was pretty rough. I felt really bad for him.
We're reacting to it this coming up Wednesday.
I saw that. Yeah.
Yeah. Dave Simmons, good to meet you. Good to have you on the panel.
Hi, Derek. Thank you for having me. I really appreciate it.
Thank you.
I've been a follower of yours for a long time. Listening and learning to a lot that you've said.
I really appreciate that. I mean, look, I'm listening and learning to some of the stuff I said a while ago that I forgot. I mean, when you do this much, I'll write a paper, do a documentary, little video. 6 months later, I have to pull up the paper I wrote, and I'll be like, what did I say? What did I, I'm still having to watch scholars over and over to keep trying to remember. Because hearing it.
I'm like that with whatever I posted yesterday. So I know what you mean. I mean, let me put it this way to you, Derek. I read the Old Testament maybe 4 or 5 times through every single year.
Wow.
And yet still I will read it and have forgotten 80% of it before I reread it again.
Oh, interesting.
It's terrible. It's terrible. But then I'm on a lot
I wouldn't blame you, though. Personally, I don't blame you, because the Abrahamic stuff is dense. There is just it's pretty wordy.
Yeah.
I think it's pretty wordy. Like, when I try to read the Bible, I read something like Havamal, and it's so elegant and simple and stanza by stanza. The Bible, there's like a lot of background lore that if you weren't there from the beginning, forget about it. And if you're just taking a page you're missing all the context, and it just defeats the entire purpose of the book itself, right?
Yeah.
I don't blame you for forgetting that kind of stuff.
Yeah. I mean, I must say that things, for example, like the birth city of Abraham is given as the city of Ur. I have maybe 3 dozen books just on the city of Ur. So that's how, my every moment of my free time is dedicated to getting the context and the background of the biblical writings. But still, I seem to forget so much of it and have to remind myself day in, day out, again and again. Unfortunately, that's just a problem with my brain, I think.
I think it worked better in Hebrew.
No, Dave.
For those who are reading it, it's more poetic. Atheist conference? Nah, bro. Conference ends. This is all. Thank you so much for the super chat. Appreciate that. Love and support. By the way, there are people who are trying to get on the panel. I didn't want to overwhelm it, but if anyone feels like, hey, I want to get my 2 cents in, whatever, and then make space for others who might be interested in jumping in, any volunteers? Oh, somebody already did.
We were talking about comparative mythology is what you could call it, for lack of a better term, between like the gospel and the Odyssey. And I remember, at the beginning, Derek, you talked about just wanting to hang out, and you put me onto Dennis R. MacDonald's book. of the Gospel of Mark and the Odyssey, and I'm sitting here reading this, and it's just the sequence of events lining up and everything that it was just so utterly. And then you go back and read the Odyssey, you're like, oh yeah, it's true, and this is predating the Gospel of Mark by many hundreds of years, right?
Hundreds of years.
Yeah, hundreds of years.
You know, this is a very interesting thing that I've wrestled with, right? Because I think Dennis is hitting some things, pretty obvious stuff. Then this is the wrestling match I have in my own brain, is that I come across a text where I can go to the Hebrew scriptures, right? The Septuagint, the Greek Septuagint, which is a no-brainer. Everyone knows that they're imitating scripture, fulfilling scripture, things like that, typology, all of that. And I'm going, when Dennis has an explanation and then scripture has an explanation, and I'm like, ooh, what's going on? And then if I ask Dennis goes, well, it could be because they did composite imitations, which gets down into even deeper weeds. I don't want to necessarily like say, is this or is that? I mean, this is a soft science. There's no way, unless we got like a hidden note from Mark, you know, on some ancient manuscript that says, look, this passage, I actually took it from here or something, you know, or they're not going to do that.
Yeah.
But, you know, I'm kind of stuck.
Like a footnote.
Yeah.
And then like after that, all we really have to go off of is the amount of Greek.
Chapter 22.
What is it? Mark 22?
There's not Mark doesn't go to 22.
Yeah, it's kind of like, you know, well, what I'm saying is there's no footnote annotation that, hey, this is Mark, and here's where I got this information from the Odyssey. It's not like he references. But I think too, along that line, and Dennis and other people, Derek, you've had on the show, talk a lot about typology and mimetic borrowing and stuff, and the whole concept of the education of people speaking Greek. I took a year of Greek in college. I was pretty good at it. I had a professor tell me once that I had a particular profundity for verbosity, which was pretty verbose. And so to learn the Greek and to learn to write stories like that, studying Homer, studying the Iliad, reading Plato, learning about, you know, the philosophical background, the literary styles and stuff. They borrowed kind of the rough outline of these stories, and then they kind of fill in the blank. And that's a common writing technique. If you go to authors, modern authors, like anybody who writes romance novels or Western novels and stuff, there is a typology that those books tend to follow. And so the gospel authors, that's how they learn. That's what they learn to write. You know,
as a genre, correct?
Basically, they read this, then they write their story as a genre. Yes.
Yeah, they learned the language itself. They learn the language itself from practicing. You know, reading and learning through Homer. Real quick, I don't want to be rude. Toronto Bible Study. Good to have you here, man.
Hey, what's up, brother?
What's up, man? Hey, we'll chat. We'll chat in a minute, man. We're just delving into this specific topic. I didn't want to be rude and not say hey and welcome you to the panel.
Thanks.
There's a book I was trying to just turn around and grab, and it's in my other office. And what's interesting about what you said too is that I talked to Dennis McDonald about this. In Mark, the scene with the whole calming of the storm, and then the next episode, the demoniac starts to pop up in Mark 5. He has some interesting things he thinks goes back to Homer. And then I've read some scholars who go, that Jonah scene, it seems like a Jonah scene where Jesus is asleep on the boat. There's a storm, but he calms a storm. Whereas Jonah has a different kind of sequence of things, but it's similar to Jonah, right? And I thought, well, which is it? Which is it? Scripture or Homer? Scripture or Homer? And then what happened is I contacted, I came across reading a scholar, Bruce Loudon. If you haven't read him, he talks about Greek myth and the Bible. He specifically identifies in the Hebrew Bible Greek mythology imitated from Homer, which we know is around at least the 700s BCE. And he argues that the Jonah narrative is imitating a colossal kind of storm at sea situation here in the Odyssey. And I thought to myself, what if Mark is in this circumstance, knows Homer, learned the language, but sees the scripture, imitates the scripture, and by default, it's imitating Homer. So you see Homer illusion because the very scripture he's imitating has Homeric illusion in it or imitation in it. And I thought, which is it? And Dennis is like, well, that could be the case. I mean, but they would have.
Does he think it's like? Does he think it's so? There's genre, right? Then we have language, right? Greek and Aramaic. They would have been speaking Aramaic. The people who wrote the later Gospels. Am I correct in that?
No, I don't.
Like, what were the?
I don't know.
Because all we have is the Septuagint, correct?
Well, you're talking about later Gospels. Okay. You're talking about the Gospels.
Yeah. Well,
Gospels were written in Greek.
Right. Okay. So
70
So you have
later.
Yeah. So you have language discrepancies. Then you have genre osmosis. Then you have, do you think that maybe the style, it's just the verse stanza style just kind of imported from the Odyssey? Because that's also a song as well,
Yeah, it's written in prose, so it doesn't carry over like the tune that you get in the Greek from Homer. So it is written in prose. And I asked that question to Dennis because he's read it in the original Greek and Homer, and he's translated Homer, and he went to Harvard for this stuff. And but he said no, by the first century, most of the writings that they're dealing with, unless you go to like Ovid's Metamorphosis or something, you're usually going to get a prose style writing. But the prose were imitating the ancient classics as well. I wish we had little hints like that. He more plays along with like the names or sequences, as you've noted before, but like the names have meaning. And I know a lot of people don't know what to do with a lot of the things that he has brought up, but I've heard a lot of praise from a lot of scholars who are like, I don't follow everything he says, but we should at least take into consideration much of what Dr. McDonald has to bring to the table here. And a lot of them were blown away by his work early on when he was talking about one of the non-canonical texts that he saw Homeric imitation in, and this put it on the map. For a lot of the scholars out there, they were like, he sold me on this case. I think where he loses a lot of scholarship in terms of their thoughts about acceptance of his hypothesis is Mark. So they're do it with Luke Acts. Like, I know conservative scholars, F.F. Bruce thinks there's imitation in some context within Acts, the book of Acts. But like, it's when you get to Mark, because now there's this debate where they go, well, was he really that intelligent? Was he really, all these questions come up about Mark. Most of the scholars they just don't follow him to Mark, but they will be willing to at least consider him in Luke Acts because they see Luke's clearly highly illiterate and also seems to be imitating and aware of Greek material. He quotes Greek poets literally in Acts 17. So it at least is there. You can't deny the evidence that's
they're actually copying other people's homework in that situation in Acts versus it's a little more dubious in terms of like most scholars in terms of Mark, or
I wouldn't. It's
or not dubious, but
I would say. Okay. I would say I wouldn't say like copying their homework. People were recycling, quoting Plato. Christians were quoting Plato. It's like we use these terms because look, I did a video recently that Genesis stole from Mesopotamia. If you just, I know that the title alone, but the title alone turned a lot of people away. They wrote me, they're like, dude, I'm not watching it because, we know that's not what they were doing, is stealing, right? And I said, well, if you watch the first 5 minutes, I addressed that point because I was actually critiquing Wes Huff, who made a video that Genesis did not plagiarize from. And what his actual point, if you get down to the brass tacks of what he's trying to argue, is that Genesis is not dependent upon. It is not reliant on, Atrahasis or Gilgamesh epic or any of the Mesopotamian pre-flood stories. And I find that completely erroneous. Now, and that's the consensus scholarship. They will argue, even the ones who say that they're not genetically borrowing, without them, the Bible's Genesis account would not exist. This is what even Joel Baden, who says it's not directly copying from Enuma Elish or Atrahasis or Gilgamesh or whatever. Without those stories, Genesis, they say, would not even exist. So they just think there's intermediary or something. I keep hearing something in the background.
That's Sabio.
Is it?
Or I think no, he's muted himself.
Yeah, I hear a little background noise. Somebody's talking.
Not me.
But yeah. I just look, when we use the language of stolen or copied, it's like, yes, in a modern,
it causes bad feelings though. Let's be honest, it just causes bad feelings when you labeled it that way.
Yeah, well, I think you're right. I think there's a,
but I don't think it's wrong. I actually like, you've got especially when you juxtaposition all of that, you take all of what you just said and juxtaposition that with the Persian side, with the story of the tempting in the desert, and the Zendavesta is doing that like what, 1,000 years before? Some crazy. I'm bad with these ancient dates. Sometimes they kind of get all. But the Zendavesta did that.
Oh, you did. Oh wow. Hey, I'm amazed.
But, I mean, what do you think? What do you guys think? No, but tell me, what do you guys think? So we're talking about like the Odyssey and the Gospel of Mark. Well, what about the Zendavesta and the tempting in the desert of Jesus by a demon? And you're
talking about the Avesta. The Avesta, isn't that how you pronounce it?
Or the Vesta, yeah.
Yeah, I
think it's Zenda. I thought it was Zendavesta. I could be mistaken. The Avesta. Sorry, my bad. But it's the tempting in the desert. Also.
Yeah.
Sorry, Sabio, go ahead. I don't want to interrupt you.
I could be wrong too, but I never really looked at that parallel, yo.
Hold on, I'm in front of a computer. Give me 1 sec. Zendavesta, because the Zendavesta is a collection of texts. Zendavesta, the primary collection of sacred texts of Zoroastrianism. So it is Zendavesta.
It is.
The Avesta is one of them. Yeah.
Got it. Yeah, I don't know the date. I think the Avesta is later in terms of dating by scholars. I do know that.
No, this is 1500 BC.
Yeah, I'm talking about the Avesta.
You're right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
the Avestan period. Okay, hold on. Iranian manuscript. This manuscript dated to. Oh no, that's just a copy. I'll get back to you with the actual date of the Avesta, but the story, it is predating the AD gospel writers, right? But you have the story of the tempting in the desert, and it mirrors the tempting of Zoroaster.
Yeah, I did a long documentary on baptism, because the baptism scene literally right before that temptation, he gets baptized. And I cannot recall exactly what the source is, but I came across a scholar in some Zoroastrian text. It was an academic that said that some source said around the age of 30, Zoroaster came to a body of water, and an epiphany-like situation happened where the divine, like the clouds parted, kind of visionary experience happened, and the clouds open. And then that's when Ahura Mazda, and you see the dualism taking place, and there's like a vision of the apocalyptic end that like, hey, now your journey begins where you are going to be a significant prophet figure in trying to fight evil on behalf of good. And that was a very interesting thing, that he was 30 years of age at a body of water, then a visionary experience happens. And I thought maybe somehow there's some tradition that finds its way and influences it, especially since Jews, we know, were in Persia. So I don't know for sure, but the problem is these sources we have, like you brought up the Avindavesta.
Ahura Mazda. Sorry, I messed up the name. Ahura Mazda. Not a Persian expert. Don't kill me. Ahura Mazda was tempted by Ahriman in the desert. There's a young
Gathas, and thus Zarathustra's activity have ranged widely, roughly from 1500 BCE down to around 600 BCE. But the Gathas is some of the hymns attributed to Zarathustra himself. I wonder if we have any remaining actual like papyri or inscriptions of this. That would be fantastic.
So far, I only see copies of like 11th century, so it's not looking very good on that side. It's probably just a bunch of medieval Persians trying to preserve that, you know?
Yeah.
But you're talking about baptism. You have Greeks intermingling with Persians all the time, and Greeks have the bapti, and they're borrowing a bunch of Persian stuff too. So, you know, if the Christian writers are borrowing from the Greeks, and the Greeks are borrowing from the Persians, and the Persians are borrowing from the Scythians, and you know, like they are all borrowing. It's not, you know.
Yes.
But then there's control my mind. Yeah, there you go.
There's this Silk Road in the ancient times where people traded ideas, goods, and people and other things too. But, you know, like religion was not isolated at all. Ever since there was a need for resources, there's been an exchange of religion and ideas.
That's why, like, when we use language, I don't want to take us off the topic, Ron, but like when we use language that does say, oh, they stole, they plagiarized, they copied, like, truth be told, we would probably break more walls down instead of building walls between us versus them if we just realized this is what all humans did always. And look at like Christians when they traveled east, you get Manichaeism start to come up, right? You start seeing blending of traditions. If you find Christianity in Egypt, right, the Coptics and such, you'll see like the culture and the existing ideas that are in that region influence the belief of people that migrated or adopted those religions in that region. And I find that fascinating. It I guess you'd say it removes the distance between us, and it lets us go, hey, we're all trying to live life. We're all trying to come up with ways in which we think make sense of the world. That's one of the things I do try to do.
Well, Derek, I was going to share.
Go ahead.
I was going to say, yeah, thanks, man. Thanks, Danny. Serapis is a really good representation of that, that borrowing, not stealing, but borrowing and syncretizing during the Ptolemaic period. The Greeks created this kind of hybrid Greek Egyptian god who was named after Apis and Osiris, and had many of the characteristics of the Hellenistic period and stuff. And that was a political move to kind of unite the kingdom and stuff like that. But I mean, this is just prior to the time of Christ. So this stuff was going on. This was the sort of the tradition of the day. This is what people did, to create. While it's on my mind, if you don't mind, I'm going to show a New Testament example of this. Go ahead and read it if you need to.
Yeah, let me, just so you know, when I get a super chat, we want to prioritize. It keeps the lights on. It helps us keep doing what we're doing. This is Kyle. Thank you so much for that super chat, my friend. Why do concepts like Satan, angels, heaven, hell, resurrection, and the final judgment barely exist in early Hebrew scripture, but appear fully formed immediately after the Jews were freed from Babylon? I could quickly answer this to simply say a lot of the critical scholars that I've engaged with argue much of the idea of dualism, there's an enemy of God. That's not to say there weren't angels. Clearly, there may have been messengers, but angelos is also Greek. And so you start to see this idea of adoption of ideas after the Persian period. Resurrection from the dead as an apocalyptic millenarian kind of view, Persia already had that. So there was already a Zoroastrian tendency for a final apocalyptic end of the world idea. And that included resurrection. That included hell, the Chinvat bridge with the two guardian dogs that, the righteous would pass over the bridge. And all of these ideas are there already in Persia. And I think it's the reason we might find, in some of the passages like Isaiah, where you see imitations of what scholars identify, that was something the Baal cycle had for Baal, right? Yahweh has imagery of the storm deity Baal. likely due to just adaptation of earlier ideas and saying, no, our deity is the one, and he's the true one, and he's the, he's the mighty one who sits on the throne like Baal. And, that seems to make the most sense. So I think once they get in contact with Persia after Babylon, makes the most sense on why those concepts become more dominant in Jewish thinking. And even then, you still get people in the first century who say, nope, we don't believe in life after death. Jewish ideas, by the way, the priestly Sadducees. Yeah.
The
interesting.
The third book, or
they don't believe in life after death. So
there's a little delay on the show, guys. So
I was going to say there's this third and fourth book of Esdras, which talk about the Nehemiah and Ezra going back to rebuild the city. And of course, this dates back to first century, so written later. But it talks about Ezra taking the fiery cup, or the Hayoma cup of Zoroaster. So like even up until the first century, those Persian ideas were competing with, the common Hellenistic world.
Wait, what was that? Nehemiah was the cupbearer to the king of Persia. That's the story, right? But what did you say about the cup of Zoroaster?
The cup of fire, Hayoma cup. It's in third or fourth book of Esdras, where it talks about them writing the books of scripture. The scholars believe that the book was written itself in the first century.
Yeah, the book of Esdras. Well, it's not part of the Protestant canon, so I don't really know too much about it. But yeah.
The gentleman with the yellow top, sorry, I don't know your name. You mentioned a while ago about syncretism, and that's a particular favorite issue of mine, and trying to work out who came up with a certain story first, and then who were the people that copied it.
Right.
Well, I can put a bow. I've got. Well, I was just to put a nice, neat. No, go ahead. I'm sorry.
But we've moved on, and we're talking now about the solidification of monotheism. And indeed, I'm hearing and understanding what people are saying about the Persians following the Babylonians. But I believe I must interject and give my perspective. One of my favorite characters in the Bible is King Josiah. And I believe that it's really King Josiah and his great-grandfather Hezekiah that we have to really thank for starting the coercion and enforcement of monotheism. I believe that without them, we may not have ended up with the cementing of that after the Babylonians and then the Persians. I think we have to acknowledge the great importance of King Hezekiah and then King Josiah in really destroying all those Asherah poles and shrines and altars to Baal, and making laws and reforms forbidding polytheism and even the henotheism, and for centralizing the worship in Jerusalem, and that it is they that laid the groundwork that the future generations after the Babylonian exile and then the conquest and liberation by the Persians actually then led to the cementing of that. That's just it's one of my my pet subjects, shall we say? But that's just my view.
Well, I was going to say I have Dave. Right now. I'm in front of my computer. I've got Teachings of Zoroaster pulled up by S.A. Kapadia, 1905 at sacredtext.com. Just one source, but I go to the footnotes and it's just well researched. It's like every time you see it, right? So for now, and I was just going to put a bow on what Derek said and what you just said, right? It just seems like I'm looking at extracts, purity. This is like the law of Ahura Mazda. The law cleanses the faithful from every evil thought, word, and deed, as swift as rushing and mighty wind cleanses the plain. So let all deeds thou doest be henceforth good, and full atonement for thy sin is effected by means of the law of Ahura Mazda. So you have the Greeks intermingling with the Persians, you have the Persians intermingling with the Greeks, and all the schools, all the philosophers went to Persia, all the famous philosophers who were warriors hated the Persian War because, we like the Persians. We think they think right. And they have all these ideas of a philosopher king and all this stuff. It just seems like that region was tending towards monism the whole time. And they all just had their own take on it. The more I read into it, it just seems like the older civilization, like just strictly the older civilization would have had dibs.
To the reforms of Josiah. And when I looked into it, they didn't find any historic, like mass destruction. And so, I think it was Dan McClellan who thinks it was an anachronistic reform, if anything.
That it was like a slow reform instead of a sudden cleansing of the temple of all the
more like
poles and statues of Baal.
More, just the removal of imagery, because you don't see the mass destruction that you would expect. And I'm not an expert on the issue, but it's something that interests me too. It's like, if there was a reform, what kind of reform was it?
There's a
Go ahead, Wade.
I was going to say, Derek, there's a verse I shared from Jeremiah 44 with someone the other day that indicates the unhappiness that the women of Israel were expressing about no longer being able to worship Asherah. And I do know from other reading that I've done that typically the early Jewish men would marry Canaanite women and allow them to have Asherah idols on their hearths and altars. And in Jeremiah, I think it's 44, they mentioned that, back when we used to make cakes with Asherah's image on them and pour out libations. So you've got the bread and the wine there, just by way of reference. We were prosperous. Things were going well. And now that we can't do that anymore, we're wandering in the wilderness here. We have nothing to eat. Plague and pestilence follow us. But back when we were worshiping Asherah, things, life was good.
That's what I was going to say. This isn't, Dave, if you don't mind, I don't mean to cut you. I want you to be able to speak here. The more I research this and the more I look into kind of how religion unfolded and history unfolded along with it, I really do empathize. I sympathize with the older cults. I wish now clearly, I'm not saying I'm sympathetic of cults that were doing crazy stuff like sacrificing children, as we've seen, in certain contexts, ridiculous stuff.
But even then, the heathens were speaking against that stuff anyways.
Yeah, but everyone,
in a lot of cultures, everybody hated that.
Yeah, everybody was condemning that at that time. My thing is this: I went down this path, as everyone who's on the panel probably knows. I mean, I would imagine a little bit about my background, but I get to the end of it and I go, man, like, I wish we didn't destroy all of that stuff back there and it was more, around. So I would just say it would have been in step with the rest of the ancient Near East if they would have continued those things. And why did they radically change? I'm willing to question Josiah's reforms. I'm willing to question Hezekiah's. They oddly mirror each other almost identically. And I asked this to Robert Cargill on a live stream, and I super chatted him, and I was like, hey, well, what's up? Do you think is there a good reason to question Hosea's reforms or Hezekiah, sorry? And he's like, yeah, no, there are good reasons to question Hezekiah's reforms. Then I asked him about Josiah, and he's like, well, let me not be so, but, I don't know. What if neither reform really happened? And then, we ended up with a post-Babylonian exile and you getting into an iconic environment in Persia that's saying, hey, this is more monotheistic or henotheistic, but with one primary deity. I don't know. I don't know what to make of it, Dave. I'll be honest with you, because there's
other archaeological, extra biblical evidence for example, Hezekiah and certain actions and positions of his. I was in London for my birthday 3 weeks ago at the British Museum, and I went there specifically to see a couple of new exhibits they've got regarding biblical history. But while I was there, I had a look at the Taylor prison. I don't know if any of you have heard of it, but is the account of Hezekiah's battle against Sennacherib, but from the opposing point of view.
Right.
And it's very interesting to find out how the biblical view has the Hebrew folks winning the battle, but the other account has the other guys winning the battle.
Yeah.
But indeed, while we're there, within that and related archaeological pieces, we do have sort of countenance and evidence of a push for reforms. And indeed, as once again the gentleman in yellow had said a little while ago, he has read words, as have I, accounts of the Hebrew females being quite put out by the destruction of the Asherah poles. And I would say, if I may, just one more thing connected to do with this. We all are aware of henotheism, where you may have an area and like a top god, top deity. But for example, where Abraham, the fictional, I believe, character of Abraham was said to have grown up in Ur, the chief god was Nana, a moon god. And Nana had a daughter, Inanna, who was a goddess. But indeed, although that may have been the chief person who the ziggurat there, the central ziggurat was dedicated to, they would still know that within the larger picture there was a hierarchy of the gods. To give you an easier example, in England everybody loves soccer, or football as we call it. I've no interest in it. But what will happen is you'll have somebody, a good friend of mine, he supports a team called Fulham. But he knows, if you ask him who is the best team, and he will say something like Manchester United. So although he supports and almost worships his team, Fulham, he recognises a higher, better team. And why is this relevant? Well, because of Asherah. As I'm sure we all know, originally in the earliest belief systems, Asherah was the wife of El Elyon, the consort of the Most High God, the Creator God, mentioned in Deuteronomy 32, verses 8 to 9, that I know Derek has mentioned at least 20 times on videos of his. And so originally we know that Yahweh was just one of 70, according to the Dead Sea Scrolls, 70 sons of God, not sons of Israel.
The gods. No, it says sons of the gods. It doesn't say God. It says the gods, plural.
And the gods being El Elyon and Asherah. And we know through syncretism that Asherah then suddenly becomes now the wife of Yahweh. And then after that, we go to monotheism with Yahweh being the sole God. But what I'm saying is, amongst the tribes of Canaan, whatever their favored god or goddess was, they always recognized, until a certain point in history, usually conquest, that Asherah was the top tier god and probably the mother of whoever their favored god was, especially if it was Baal, for example. So that for me, why am I mentioning this? That for me really reinforces a bit the reforms that any reformist like Hezekiah or Josiah would have had to have made, because whoever each tribe's favored god was, they always had Asherah alongside El Elyon as the original, the OG gods, if that makes sense.
Modern heathens do the exact same thing. Like
Can I add on to that,
I'm Germanic heathen. What's that?
Go ahead. But could I add on to what Dave has to say when you're done?
No, piggyback. I want to hear it, and then I'll move into what I was going to say.
So I'll be quick. I think Jeremiah may have some, point to a real contention. Although, I don't know how much of it necessarily I would take as full face, what was happening. But I think when he points out that the people were worshiping Asherah, I think that was still happening up until exile. And you'd have to correct me. I don't know what the Elephantine documents talk about, if they talk about Asherah as well. But I think if anything, these reforms were just a recreating of the nation narrative of why they don't have Asherah anymore in the first place. Because Asherah's cult was such a big deal. I mean, you go to Tel Arad, which was around Josiah's time.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and they find you got the two altars there, one with canna and one with frankincense, and I really think that was the big contention. Like you had all these other similar cults using the same incense, and they were competing, kind of like nations competing for popularity of their religion, and obviously not native to the Judean area, and being imported, it was hard to compete.
Yeah, Danny, what you just said. What Danny just said, it mirrors perfectly exactly what happens everywhere else. Because in Germanic Europe, okay, I'm a modern heathen. I recognize Woden or Odin as the chief. He's the high one, capital H, capital O, high one. He sits on the high seat, right? But the gods that I typically have affinity for or seek to emulate through contemplation, as all ancient heathens would say, is proper worship of the gods to try to emulate, would be Lord Ingvi Freyr, and Thunor, right? Because my day-to-day, Woden is a war god. I'm no longer in the military. I would love to have a farm instead, and prosperity and justice and wealth and tenacity and fury, right? So the same thing happened, and what Danny just said at the end there, the local gods competing to be like top dog, what are saints if not local deities of the many towns of Europe's, right? Saint Bridget in Ireland, everyone's got their saint. Well, that is a pantheon, folks. That is a pantheon of elevated heroes.
My friend, I must recommend something to you. Forget about Wodan.
Yes, sir.
Forget about Wodan. If you were in the military and you want the best war god of all time, go to the god of the largest contiguous empire of all time, the Mongolian Empire, the god of Genghis Khan, and that is Tengri.
Oh, I know about Tengriism.
Under the god of Tengri, in Tengrism, as Genghis said, his greatest desire is that we seek out our enemy and we conquest them. So
but didn't
if
you
you're
say,
looking for a military god, he must be the most successful.
Didn't you say that you're looking for farming at this point? You're not interested.
No, I want to settle the land. I want to buy land, have animals, start a family. That's all Lord Ing, baby. He's the Lord of just rule and prosperity and increase. I hope all of your pockets grow fatter. I hope all of your cattle grow fatter. Your wheat grows taller. That's Lord Ing, Ingvi Frey.
Hey,
and he also competes with Odin back and forth as the high god.
Real quick, just to piggyback off Danny's point here, and he asked the question of, did they worship Asherah? That's a good question. I know that in the Elephantine papyri, they did have a goddess situated next to Yahweh, and her name was Anat Yahweh. So Anat was still situated in this polytheistic pantheon. They worshipped several gods in the 500s BCE, post-Babylonian exile in Elephantine. And this is the kind of mysterious conundrum when I've interviewed Jonathan Adler and Gad Barnea. When they're writing after their temple gets destroyed, I think they did and I'm probably butchering this, but they did a sacrifice of a ram like any temple would. They did this in Jerusalem, but the ram was so symbolic and significant to Egyptians as one of their deities that the Egyptians revolted and burned the temple down. So they write the Jerusalem temple and say, hey, look, we need funds. We need help rebuilding this temple. And the question that should arise if we've read, Exodus, Deuteronomy, Leviticus, like building a temple in a different location all the way down here does not match what we're seeing in these law codes. And Jonathan Adler and Gad Barnea were pointing out, like, this is strange. Even I had the guy Why the Bible Began, and I'm forgetting his name. I just did a recent interview, launched it at least with him. Well, in that, they say, hold on, they should have wrote a letter back and said, no, you bunch of heathens, we're not sending you any funds to build this polytheistic temple in a place it doesn't belong. But they do. They say, no problem, we'll send you funds. We're going to help support you building your temple again to Yahweh and Anat Yahweh. So it's really interesting finding under the Persian period, this is still going on. Now, I don't know what's going on in Samaria. I don't know for sure what's going on in Jerusalem during this time. Not an archaeologist, but I do love talking to these experts and getting them to like elucidate and then plug their books and then read their books and go, oh, interesting. It's a whole bunch of material to really wade through and just consider. It's a lifelong journey. This is like a video game for us. Like we just, we're fun. It's like a hobby,
Yeah.
It's like building a puzzle.
I wonder if Anat is kind of like an evolution of the way of thinking of Astra, like a renaming after introduction to Hellenistic, because you have like Astarte, and it's similar goddesses that are these warrior goddesses, and it would make sense that a different element or a different aspect of the goddess would evolve with the culture, just like any goddess you find of any culture evolves over the millennia, from Bronze Age to Iron to so forth and so on.
I'm looking that up actually, because that's a really interesting, like, is the genie, because we know like Astarte is Ishtar, is Inanna, right? And these are just different names, but they're the same goddess. So they say,
but are they one-to-one functionally, I think is the question, right?
That's a good question. Yeah.
Because one god can be named something, but their function changes based on the society they migrate to,
They become one functionally, I think. They may not have started it, but it's like the same way that Yahweh started adopting characteristics of Baal. It's part of that syncretism. Earlier on, somebody used the word competing gods. And when that was mentioned, that makes me think of Christians when they first went to Japan in ministry, evangelizing. And they would open up churches, but the minister would dress as a Japanese, pastor.
To appear Shinto.
They generally want to minimize competing and take as many local characteristics as they can and just gradually introduce their own characteristics. And that's how Yahweh comes to swallow up the favored god Baal by taking on his characteristics, and then the propaganda of dismissing and rubbishing the character of that other god until we're, as Highlander said, there can be only one. And I think that's part of the identity and why goddesses like Asherah and gods like Baal and Molech and whoever else disappeared, because after the exile, that was when the Israelites, the Hebrews, the Jews as they were starting to be known, that's why they were really then trying to carve out their own individual identity. And part of that politically and economically and rationally was to push for monotheism, because that was part of the new separated identity, I think.
I missed the super chat. Victor Engelman, forgive me. I guess when you do $2 super chats, it kind of hides it from you. 5 and up, I guess, pops in your face. It didn't show me. Sorry. Vinidad Fargan 19627 Temptation.
Oh, there it is. Yep. Good man. I'm gonna look it up right now. I'm on it.
By the way, I don't want to distract from what you just said, Dave. Someone just complimented your voice and said you should do documentaries because your voice is so well. But Victor, for those who don't know, Victor is the guy who did the recent video on where we argue where did hell come from, and we talked about this volcano that was up here in the northern region, and like I do think that someone saw volcanoes and thought there's something going on with this for sure.
Thanks, Victor.
Yeah, Victor, thank you so much. You rock.
I'm pulling it up right now. You're a hero.
Here, I'll keep it up while you.
Well, I was against the demons of Esta.
Sorry, someone said that something.
Yeah, Derek, I got a question.
Yeah.
You know, when I used to be a Christian, you know, I was involved with the oneness groups, and some of the messianic teachings of the oneness groups used to teach that there's the name that you guys are speaking about, Ashereth. In Exodus 3, or not what is it? Exodus, I think it's Exodus 3 and 6, where it talks about the name of God. Well, some of them would teach that a lot of the Christians were wrong on this name, and so they would say that the real name is supposed to be Asher. And so I was wondering, the name Ashereth and the name Asher, can those be two different concepts at a different time? Because there are Christians that teach that this is the true name of God, being Asher, Aya, versus those other names that they use for John 8:58, trying to say that Jesus is the Asher, Aya, and the other ones, Yahweh, Adonai, and all them, or Baal, are false gods from Canaan and other religious aspects. Would anybody have any idea on that?
I don't know that particular example of what you're talking about. Go ahead, Toronto. Do you understand
he's talking about Exodus 3 when God introduces himself to Moses. He says, "My name is Ahaya Asher Ahaya," which means I am that I am. But the Asher there, the word Asher there is this Hebrew word for that. You know, it's just like a simple word, that. It's not a name or anything, but it's Ahaya Asher Ahaya comes to I am that I am, you know?
So does that have any association with Asherah and Ashereth?
Yeah, I would say probably not, because it's just that word, that the what do they call it, the relative pronoun or something, the word that, you know. So it's not, I don't think it's really referring to Asherah or anything like that. I think probably not, you know.
Yeah, I don't think so. But I'm not a philologist. I would be really hard pressed to see the relationship with Asherah and that name. By the way, I've got a friend backstage who has been waiting to come on. If I can get a volunteer to allow my friend to
hop off.
Danny, all right.
Love you guys.
Yeah,
love you, Danny.
One last thing on that.
Cheers.
Real quick though, I think Asherah comes from. Just one last thing. I think the Asherah comes from Inanna. I believe there's a version of Inanna's name that's pretty close to Asherah. But yeah, like love you guys. Out.
Okay. All right, Danny. Thank you so much. Wade, did you say you were heading out too? Oh, Wade's out too. Okay.
Good talking, Wade, if you're still watching.
Absolutely. And Mr. Morpheus is in the house. What's up, my friend?
Is he going to guide us out of the Matrix?
What up?
Yes.
Now, I'm Mr. Morpheus.
Yes.
Where are the pills? Give me the red pill suppository, please.
I'm about to give it to you right now.
Good to see you. How you doing? How you doing, Morpheus? You doing okay, brother?
What's up? What's up with it? Hey, before you go.
Yeah, I'm doing okay.
Oh,
man.
My fault.
So you're doing okay. We'll talk though, catch up, blah blah blah. But a good new platform that you got. I like this.
Hey, I like it too. But your internet. Can you get your Wi-Fi hooking up? Get it right.
That's Mr. Morpheus.
Yes, Mr. Morpheus. You know who he is.
My dirty.
What's happening with my?
Yeah, you're coming in and out.
What's happening with my
Your connection.
Yeah, something's going on here. What's happening?
Hey, I'm just gonna turn my camera off and mute myself real quick. I'm gonna grab a book off my shelf because I'm just doing some reading real quick. I'll be right back.
Sounds good. Sounds good. Let's see.
It says you are running out of browser space on device.
Oh. Say what?
I don't know what this is.
Yeah,
let me leave and come back in. Let me try to come back in.
Okay, okay. What were you saying there, DC?
Yeah, I was asking. I think it was Wade that was speaking about earlier about Serapis. I think that's a really important topic to really get into. What I was wanting to know is that when they started creating and synchronizing this God-man with the bull, and then creating the God for people to believe in, to have, eternal life, and then
by the way, real quick, DC, if you don't mind me, real quick, I'm sorry to interrupt. I hear a background TV or something in someone's audio.
Yeah, I got the bigger screen on because my eyes are so bad I can't see the small.
Is that you?
Yeah,
okay, okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
So what I want to know is when we say that Jesus is a myth, and some people teach that he was synchronized from the god Serapis. So and then you have the church, some of the church history saying a guy named Hadrian, basically saying that these other Christians copycatted off of the god Serapis and begin their eternal life doctrine. So what I want to know is when they did that, is there any information that when they created this God and get people to believe, was there also any manuscripts to give them like a belief to where they have the hope of eternal life and being called a Christian many centuries before that they were? I mean, how did, and then you have this, so many temples of the god Serapis that Christians basically, burned or got rid of, and then they turned them into their Christianos. And so I was just wondering if there's any information on that.
So
I have a view on that, if I may. We have indeed the alleged writings of Solomon. And of course, Solomon was the king, the man with the greatest amount of wisdom ever, who indeed ended up worshipping lots of other gods, which is why the kingdom got taken off of his son Rehoboam, and the northern part was given to Jeroboam, who then 22 times after that was re-referenced as other kings of Israel worshipped other gods. But I believe it was in those writings that were attributed to Solomon that we first start to see this question of why is it that good things happen to bad people and bad things happen to good people? Why do we not see consistent punishment of the wicked? And it is through Greek ideas, in fact, that the idea of, okay, so if people can be bad down here and not get punished, let's invent a hell somewhere they can be punished after this earthly life, and let's invent a heaven somewhere where some good stuff can happen to the good people. And so I believe that that's where the idea of hell that was asked about 10 minutes ago come about, and the concept of eternal life came about. It was following the realization that, wait a minute, bad things happen to good people and good things happen to bad people.
If I may,
Dr. Almond. Oh, you're good.
Real quick here, DC. I just to address your point on Serapis, we've lost a lot of primary sources from the ancient world, a ton. I mean, and Christians were mostly the ones preserving a lot of this. So unlikely they're preserving everything, especially not if it's more significant for their own faith. So we probably have lost a lot of writings. We do have Plutarch. He mentions Serapis. We do have some sources that identify Serapis, and these are significant people that Christians did continue to copy. But the other issue is that I believe it's like a later forgery that tries to identify as if Christians were secretly as if as Jesus was invented by the Serapis God, or he is Serapis, that this may be a later either syncretization or a forged kind of identifying of the two later. So it wasn't a very early source that we find that material. So I'd just be very careful on Jesus is just a copycat of Serapis, this kind of stuff that we see in Zeitgeist. I'm very cautious on, because
they definitely needed to eliminate that cult in order to take over, though, because Serapis was the guy where you slept in his temple and you got healed. Well, there's no healer in town.
Yeah, 100%. I agree. And that's why when you brought up the temples, Christians often would take pagan temples and they'd reconsecrate them and make them Christian. And this is like all over the place. Everyone agrees on this. There's not even a debate about this issue. That's history. But they would often reconsecrate it. It wasn't just like burn and destroy. There were times that happened too, but like oftentimes it was almost like just do your own little magical kind of, sprinkle the water, have a prayer, do these things, and then it would reconsecrate as Christian now. I mean, it wasn't always the same. There's a couple of scholars I've talked to, archaeological ones, who say that different Christians did different things on how they approached these situations. So it's not like a one size fits all. Everyone did the same thing. Sorry, Im, go ahead.
Well, I mean, when I read Julian the Apostate, right, he's talking about overturning altars, destroying the statues, and slitting throats is what he says. That's the quote. When you start cutting throats, who would have, neither Peter nor Paul expect you to ever have this power. Why are you doing this in Alexandria, where you murdered a woman in Hypatia? But yeah, you have these magnificent Greek columns and all that stuff, the facade of all these. No, they're going to repurpose it. It's just like Rome. Rome had a rotation of gods, it seems. They would just import, who are we conquering today? Let's import their goddess to make them more amicable to the empire, right? And so in that sense, the Christian empire functioned the same way.
Yeah. And you're talking 4th century, right? So like there really is a rise in power. It's being politicized. So now you have a religion that's being kind of weaponized in politics. And yes, Julian is speaking about a really rough time. It wasn't always this way. I mean, earlier, I would say that the propaganda of more of a literary pressure or even like a social pressure was the case. They didn't have power where they could really run around and do those things that we do see by the 4th century that Julian's talking about. And I sympathize. I listened to Julian's book. You can get it on Audible and listen to him write about this. We don't have everything. It really is like this guy knew Christianity. He was a Christian who apostatized and speaks about it. And I'm like, man, this is impressive. I do wish we had Porphyry. I do wish we had actually Porphyry stuff. That would be fantastic if we did. Anyway, Morpheus, are you coming in crystal clear?
I don't know. I hope so. I don't know why I'm having issues, because I was okay earlier. I don't know. Am I breaking up?
No, you're better now, man. If I can get the super chat real quick here. Maybe at M may have an opinion on this. Did early seafarers and customs at sea influence early cults in the Aegean? Is it possible current nautical superstitions are vestiges of ancient practices at sea? Why wouldn't it be?
Well, as a former sailor, definitely not out of the possibility. Our naval tradition in the United States, which is what I can speak to, right? Because I was in the United States Navy, comes from English naval tradition. Now, where did all those English naval traditions come from? England had a huge empire. I don't know if you guys know this, but there was a thing called the British Empire, and they, from the rising to the setting sun, the sun never set on the British Empire. So, Hindu influences, Middle Eastern influences, definitely Greek, South America, but I'm not an expert on ancient naval traditions. I just know for a fact that ancient sailors would have done some kind of evocation of whatever god was going to bless their journey, right? Whether it's through the casting of lots and runes upon the sea, sacrificing a ram upon the bow of your ship to Thunor because he governs the winds and the storm, and to please spare us before we go out on this open-decked ship across the North Sea. But that's a good question. Aegean, early cults in the Aegean. I know Derek kind of had a sore spot for Dr. Alman a while back. I did watch some of your videos where there was seemed like there was a little spat. I did read the Chemical Muse, and the beginning is fantastic. Dr. Alman talks about piracy a lot, and piracy was rampant. So it would not surprise me in the slightest that pirate cults would emerge and then influence the navies and all that stuff, because they're pretty insular, right? You kind of want to stick to your gang. Our gang does this. We worship this god. We worship whatever, right? It'd be interesting to see. I wonder if there's like that'd be a cool if somebody actually had like a thesis on that or something. Let me look into it. But that's a good question. I'm going to look into that. Sounds like something I should know.
Yo, can I ask a question?
Yeah, what's up?
Has anybody ever considered, when referring to the biblical literature, that the Bible pretty much stories focus on the ancient Near East and the Mediterranean basin? It doesn't mention any of the modern world, doesn't mention Oceania, Australia, Southeast Asia, China, Japan, Korea, Thailand, Vietnam, Asia, Sub-Saharan Africa, while Egypt and Ethiopia and Kush, but it doesn't make mention of West, Central, Southern Africa, Europe, Britain, Russia, Scandinavia. I could go on and on and on and on, right? So the whole stories of everything in the Bible happens within a particular region from beginning to end. It's all in one region, right? What about the rest of the world? What's happening in the rest of the world during these time periods when all the biblical stuff is, in the Levant, in the Mediterranean? Like, that's the world. That's not the world. It's a huge planet with other continents and countries and peoples and nations and so and so. But it seems like everybody is focusing on this area in the Middle East.
Yeah.
Like that one little circle, the whole planet.
You bring up a point that many people have considered, and I like to reframe that question a bit and say, hey, wait a minute. Israel has their God. The surrounding tribes have their gods. I live in England. Where is my God? Yahweh couldn't be my God, but where is my God? And
Woden.
Is he not talking to
He's
my
still
people?
around. It's Woden.
No.
English kings claimed descent from Woden until the 12th century.
We got invaded by people that worshipped him in around 700, 800, and 900 AD. But still, I want to know who's the God of England. He's not. I'm in England. I'm not Scandinavian, so he is not my God.
Well, no, being English means you're Anglo-Saxon and Celtic. So Anglo-Saxons come from Saxony. They were Germanic heathens.
I wouldn't believe that everyone in here is in
Hold on.
Britain.
Morpheus is trying to say something.
I'm in England. England is not Celtic.
Right. Dave,
England is not Celtic.
Dave, I like how you framed that. I like how you framed, I gave you the alley-oop and you took it. You took the alley-oop, exactly where I'm going, right? So according to the biblical literature, Yahweh is the God of Israel, correct? So that's the God of Israel. You did a show a while ago, Derek, is when did Yahweh become the God of the whole world?
Right.
When did that happen? Because that's not what happened. He was a storm god, and he was a god, according to the text, of a particular people group. But now today,
Morpheus, I would argue personally, just having looked into the Saxon Wars and Charlemagne and everything. So the church weaseled its way into Rome. Rome had a huge empire. When it fell, it got taken apart piecemeal by all manner of folk, but when the Western Roman Empire fell to Goths, Ostrogoths, Visigoths, people from up north who were Germanic heathens, then it became political. It became extremely political really fast. And if you look into the Merovingian kingdoms and the Franks, so the church sends out these missionaries. They have fat, heavy coffers, right? Well, if you're a Germanic warlord up in former Gaul in France, what we call France today, well, what wins wars? Money and logistics. Well, you have these missionaries going out there converting the rulers first. They're not converting the plebs. They're converting the rulers first, and they're saying, hey, if you take this far up north to where your cousins live and tell them, just do whatever, like as long as they convert, we don't care what happens, you can have all this golden treasure. You can build an empire as long as you promise to spread the church and give your tithe through your empire. Here comes Charlemagne. Here comes the 30-year Saxon War, a bloody resistance by the Saxons, led by Widukind, which ended in a massacre at Verdun of thousands of Saxon warriors. And right at the end of that, what do they publish? What do they publish? What do the missionaries publish? It's called the Hellion. This is a retelling of the Gospels in Old Saxon. What do they say Jesus is like in this book? Is he, the Lamb? Is he this like just figure of purity? And no, he's a freaking warlord in this book. If you read the Hellion, the version of Jesus the Saxons were getting, here, I'll go to baby Jesus right now. Real quick, I'll read this right now. This is when Jesus is born. Then I heard that bright tidings admonished Mary in the might of God, that on this site a son should be hers. Born here in Bethlehem, the mightiest of bairns, the strongest of kings, was come the shining one. We have a lot of shining gods in Germanic heathenry. Mighty here to a man's light, as for many a day pictures of him and tokens of plenty had foretold in this world. So all had turned true, as the sages had spoken it in the long, long ago, through his own self-strength, how most surely he would come to the earth realm here with humility, he protector of many. Then his mother did take him and swaddled him well, the fairest of women, with garments and gemstones. Doesn't sound like the poverty of the original Gospels to me. With her two gracious hands, she lovingly laid him, little man, a child in the crib, though he had God's strength, the master of men. There his mother sat by him, the woman there waking. She herself warded him, held there the holy bairn, and her heart doubted not the mind of the maid. It became known to the many over the whole wide of the world. The warders did hear it. Grooms were they there, keeping guard outside, were war men on watch. They had guards standing watch over baby Jesus in the Germanic story.
It's wild. Hey, real quick, I gotta hit the super chat. Real quick,
You're good.
Wade Rogers,
go.
Thank you so much for the super chat again. Wade was on the panel, by the way. So if you see
Wade,
Wade,
I gotta run, man.
Wade.
Thank you for your time.
Okay. Hey, we'll do these again in the future, my friend.
Thank you. Have
Thank
a good
you.
one. Thank you, guys.
You too. Thank you so much.
Okay. That's good. That's good.
He said Sicilian.
And it goes on, and they make Jesus into Woden throughout this whole story.
Yeah, they obviously the adaptations there. Sicilian sailors or pirates are credited by ancient historian Plutarch as being the first to introduce the secret mysteries of the Iranian god Mithras to the Roman world.
Oh, you guys, I literally had the Mithras cult stuff pulled up because I thought for sure Mithras would be a part of it because it was a god of merchants, soldiers, and aristocracy, I believe. But that's the only one I could think of. That's so funny that you said Mithras because I was just looking that up from that question earlier.
You brought it up earlier, about the sailors. We know the Samothracian mystery cults were sailor oriented. What were you going to say, Morpheus?
Real quick, right? When I asked that question, right, I like everybody, built on that. because that was always a question, right? A very good question. But one of the other things that's very important is, a lot of times we hear Christian apologists, right? They'll bring up people like Josephus, Plutarch, Tacitus, Philo, right? And one day I said, okay, why do you think none of them became Christians? Convert. Why do you think they didn't convert?
What are you asking me, or are you asking them, or you were just saying that rhetorically?
I'm just putting it out on the floor, right? Because people like always say, and they like to use them as if they, you know what I mean, that they believed or they wrote about Jesus or Christianity. I'm like, well, if they, wrote about all these people we're using, how come they didn't themselves convert?
Because they wanted to sin. I'm just kidding.
Yes.
Go ahead.
That's
Toronto.
the only reason I'm a heathen.
Tell us why Philo, why Josephus, and all the heathens wouldn't convert. Go ahead.
Well, the reason we use them as evidence is that they weren't Christians, so that's like considered like hostile witnesses to them.
It's a hostile witness, yeah.
Yeah, that's the idea. So we're not suggesting everybody who heard about Jesus would just immediately convert. We're just saying that there was this growth, there was this rapid growth of the religion very early on, and it's hard to explain in other ways. I mean, I guess you guys have your many explanations. I did want to respond to your other question.
They're talking about the movement. When they're writing, they're talking about the movement, right?
Yeah.
Particular group. Right, that's all they're talking about. Is there's a movement of a group that's growing and so forth and so on. Right, they themselves they're not testifying about a Jesus.
No, they do. Tacitus and Josephus mentioned the crucifixion of Jesus. I mean, there's debate about that. I'm sure you guys are well aware of that.
Mm-hmm.
But they mentioned the crucifixion, and so we see that as historians of the period are mentioning this actual event, so that's why we use it in our apologetics.
Yeah, but we know crucifixions are taking place. That's like nothing new. We understand.
No. It's not that it is a crucifixion. It's the fact that this particular man was crucified, and he began his religion. The Christians worship him. They think he's God. He died on the cross, etc. So the fact that
they're talking about the movement. They're talking about there's a people group that believes this happened. Right. So
okay. You're saying that the event itself is not. They don't have access.
They're not talking about the event. They said there was a guy, right, who was crucified by Rome. The state put him to death, and there's a movement that grew out of that. Mm-hmm. Right. There's a movement.
Yeah, you might be right. Yeah, they don't really have that much evidence.
They themselves are not saying,
because the event is like this small, this penniless preacher in a backwater of the Roman Empire gets crucified. The Romans don't hear about it. Tacitus, 60 years later, is not going to have evidence of that particular crucifixion, but he does have evidence of this cult, you might call it, or a religion that started, right? Yeah. So that's why.
Yeah, I'm sorry, guys. Somebody can go.
That's just Tacitus. He's as a historian, right? He's just trying to explain these people and this is why they do what they do. But via Interpretatio Romana, which is what Tacitus does all the time.
There are times where... Toronto, go ahead, Morpheus.
I'm sorry. So, Toronto, let me ask people who are Christians, if we're basing everything based off of testimonies, right? Right, because you believe based on testimonies, I'm asking, is there special pleading going here, or do you also accept testimonies of other groups who have reports of resurrections, miracles, you know what I mean, of things. So if we're going to base it on testimony, then you have to, by the same token, accept other people's testimonies of, their deities or their resurrection stories or whatever. Because if that's the basis as testimonies, right, then if we only say, hey, I'm only going to accept this one, the other ones I'm going to reject, then that's special pleading. That's special pleading.
Well, in terms of then you look at the quality of the evidence, right? The quality of the testimonies and the actual basis for the testimonies. Like we have this evidence from Paul's letters. than the gospel accounts themselves. They're quite good historical evidence. You know,
They're not because Paul never knew Jesus. His only claim is a vision.
I know. But the fact that
I'm gonna give an example.
No. I'm not saying Paul. No, wait. I'm saying Paul. Paul talks about people at the time who witnessed Jesus risen. That's what I'm saying. I'm not saying that.
Okay, so let me ask you this.
Paul's testimony is okay.
So Toronto, let me ask you this.
I'll be right back, guys.
Okay, let me ask you this. Do you believe that the vision in Italy of hundreds of thousands of people who claim to have seen Mary, the Virgin Mary, do you accept it? Do you believe that happened?
No, well, it's a very different case in the fact that, for example, there's different ways that they report the event. You know, some people just see a light, some people see a woman, some people see other things. So it's different.
So whatever it is that they saw. But I'm saying,
no, wait. Let me just explain what I'm saying to you. It's different in the sense that these other witnesses in the Jesus story have actually written down basically the same thing that they're saying. They're saying they saw this man risen, he ate with them, he talked with them. That's the difference. That's all. I'm not suggesting believe
how many
it.
people is that? How many people is that?
No. But listen, this is what I'm saying to you, brother. If you have 100,000 people, yeah, I know. Well, let's say there's 4 people, 500 witnesses supposedly, according to Paul.
Wait. We don't have anything from the 500. We don't have
anything. Paul says 500 people. Wait.
What I'm saying, Paul says we don't have anything from the 500 that Paul's talking about.
I know.
Hey, real quick, something really. I'm not chiming in here. My phone's dying. It's been a pleasure, gentlemen. I'm going to sign off for the day.
All right.
Had a blast.
So, have a good one. Good talking. Cheers.
Bye. So Toronto, what I'm asking you, Paul claims 500 people seen him, correct?
Yeah.
Yet we don't have anything from any one of those 500, correct?
Right. That's correct.
We don't. So that means that you have to now say, okay, I'm going to rely on the testimony of Mark, Matthew, Luke, and John as far as the Gospels is concerned, correct? Right.
Well, no, I just think the fact that Paul said that, what Paul's saying when he says that is, go ask them. That's what he's saying to the people, you know? He's saying like, so that's like in that moment, in that historical moment when that letter was sent, it was like an event. Like, look, we can confirm this event happened because these 500 people, they're still around. Most of them are still alive. So go ask them.
But Toronto,
that's the idea. That's why it's like
that's not what's happening. Because the letter.
What I'm saying to you is that's it's not just this fact that Paul said 500 people saw this guy. It's the idea that Paul's telling these people to go and confirm it for themselves. You know what I'm saying?
No, he didn't say that. He didn't say that to him. He didn't say go confirm it for yourself. He did not say that.
No. What I'm saying to you, I know he didn't say those words, but when he says some of them are alive to this day, what he's suggesting is that this is something you can confirm today. It's a real historical event. He's suggesting that this is reliable. There's reliable historical evidence of this event. That's what he's suggesting.
Okay, let me ask you a question.
Still doesn't mean it was true.
Let me ask you a question, Tori.
I know. I'm not saying that it means that it's true. I'm saying that that's the.
What you just quoted, right? What you just said comes from Corinthians, correct?
Yeah.
So he's writing a letter to Corinth, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So these people that he's writing a letter to, that he's trying to convert, are foreigners. They're foreigners. They can't fact check. They cannot fact check anything that he's saying.
No, that's not entirely true either. They could.
Why do you think?
It's not like his letter was widely read, was it? It was only read by a handful of people. It's not like any of those 500 could phone in and say, yes, I was one of those people that saw Jesus resurrected.
What I'm asking Toronto is, who's the audience? Who's the audience that the letter?
What I'm saying to you is,
say what?
The audience of the letter is the Corinthian church. Okay, I don't know how many people were in that church.
Why do you think the letter is not in Palestine? Why do you think he's not teaching it in Palestine, Jerusalem? The people who would know, right?
Because they would know. They would already know this claim that he's making.
They don't. That's exactly what no, they don't. I'll give you a perfect example.
Why are you saying that?
100 years, You don't, Toronto.
Yeah.
You have no evidence of that. He's sending a letter.
No. I'm just saying. Why? Well, you're asking me the question now. Okay, if you're telling me some other evidence, okay, go ahead.
I'll give you a perfect example. In 1 Corinthians 15, right, where he says that Christ died, was buried, and rose the third day according to the scripture. What scripture is he talking about, Toronto?
He's talking about the OT.
Huh?
He's talking about the OT. He's talking about the prophecies about Christ's resurrection.
So then now you have to show me in the Old Testament where it says Christ died, was buried, and rose the third day. Because that's what he said.
Isaiah 53.
No, there's nothing in 53 to say he was buried. There's nothing.
It does say he was buried. It does say he was buried.
In 53
it literally says, listen, brother. In Isaiah 53, it literally says he's going to be buried in a rich man's grave, as he was.
No, listen. Justin beat you up the other day on this. What are you talking about?
Isaiah 53 doesn't say he's going to be buried in a rich man's grave.
No. That's not what Corinthians says. Nothing but a rich man. Listen again.
No, I'm just pointing out. It says he's going to be buried.
Listen again. Toronto. It says died, buried, and rose the third day.
Yeah, the third day. I'm not sure where the third day prophecy comes from. I'm not sure exactly.
Listen, I'm trying to explain to you that is nowhere in the Old Testament and the Tanakh or the Torah. Nowhere. It's non-existent. But guess what, Toronto?
Okay. That doesn't mean. So what? That's one part of it.
Toronto, let me finish, and I'm gonna let you talk. The letter that he's sending to Corinth, they don't know the Torah.
Oh, okay. No, wait. First of all, hold on a sec, brother. Hold on a sec. First of all, when he says that Jesus died, rose, and buried on the third day, rose on the third day, right? That is what he's repeating to them is this. Hold on. What he's repeating to them is this ancient creed that was repeated in the church. So everyone in Corinth knew that already. They had heard that. They heard that 100 times. They knew that what he was saying. That's why he's saying it.
What's your evidence for that?
That's commonly understood among scholars.
No.
That's
well established. What is your evidence for that?
I'm not sure exactly why scholars. Well, you know what? There's a few reasons why I could say just from the text that it sounds like that, like a creed. It sounds like something that you would. Sounds like a creed. It sounds like a poetic thing.
Toronto, you're using hermeneutics, right? You're using hermeneutics to try to explain this away because he says.
I'm not. By the way. Anyway, listen. Hold on. Toronto, I don't know why you're accusing me of all this stuff. I'm not doing that. What I'm doing
because you said, listen. I asked you specifically. He said that he was died, buried, and rose the third day according to the scripture.
Okay. Let me. So I was telling you.
Let me finish, Toronto.
Let me finish. Yeah, okay.
Let me finish. So then, based on those three things he said, Christ died, was buried, and was resurrected the third day. We should be able to go in the Tanakh or the Torah and find that same three things: died, buried, rose the third day.
Okay. As I was saying to you, Isaiah 53 died, buried, rose. Okay, and the third day thing. Hold on.
I'll show my screen right now.
53 has nothing to do with Jesus. Isaiah 53 has nothing to do with Jesus. I'm not going to let you do that.
Okay.
Don't even start.
What about the festival?
Hosea 6:2 has the third day thing. Okay, so there's other things.
What about the festival booths?
The festival of booths. What about it?
There was like a 10-day festival, where they slaughtered bulls, and I'm pretty sure, like if you're thinking about something that's the most similar to the crucifixion, I would assume it's the Tarabolium rituals that they did during I think it was the festival of booths. There's like 70 bulls that are slaughtered in the honor of Yahweh.
I don't think that was part of the custom, but I'm pretty sure. The thing is, all the animal slaughter stuff is pointing to Christ. That's true. But what I was talking about is just the fact that yes, there's prophecies about him dying, being buried, being rising again, and also the third day.
Listen, I got 53
Isaiah
53.
Right now. Okay, yeah.
I got 53 right now.
Okay.
You want me to share my screen?
I will divide him a portion with the great. He shall divide the spoil with the strong. 53:12. Because he has poured out his soul unto death, and was numbered with the transgressors, and he bare the sin of many and made intercession for the transgressors. So he's going to be. He's going to be given. Hold on. He's going to be given a portion with the great, and he shall divide the spoil with the strong. Hey, Derek, even though he died, right?
Derek, share my screen.
Derek. Anyway, I don't want this to get away from you, Derek. But
I know. Share my screen for 1 minute, please. Show me right here in 53 that he died, was buried, and rose the third day, according to the scripture, just like Paul said. Show it to me. I'm in 53.
No, I said that this thing has the died, buried, and rose again. So in 53:12,
show me. I'm in 53.
Go to 53 right now. Listen, bro, calm down. No. Okay, 53:12. 53:12 has that prophecy.
Does anybody see that?
Buried. And 53:9 has the rich man thing.
What rich man?
What do you mean? What do you mean? Does everybody see? Look, dude, it says that he's going to divide him a portion with the great because he has poured out his soul unto death. Death, right? So Jesus poured out his soul unto death. That means he died. Okay. So,
Toronto.
By the way, hold on. What? What do you mean? What am I talking about? It's right there, 53:12. Can you read? 53:12.
53:12 doesn't say any. Listen, y'all. 53:12 doesn't say anything about him dying, being buried.
Yes.
And
wait. He has poured his soul out unto death. Right. That's death. Right. Is that dying? Is that him dying or not?
Keep going.
Okay. Now the thing about being buried. 53:9. He has made his grave with the wicked and with the rich in his death. That's the rich man's grave. That's the Joseph of Arimathea.
This is a rich man. This is talking about a rich man, according to you, right?
Yes. Joseph of Arimathea. Jesus was buried in Joseph of Arimathea's grave, his sepulcher.
You're not doing this right now, bro.
Wait. What's wrong? What's wrong? What specifically is wrong with what I just said?
Yeah.
Tell me exactly.
I can't do it, bro.
Okay, Joseph
in Isaiah 53 about rising from the dead? Nothing in Isaiah is about Jesus.
Well, hold on, sir.
And it's really a bad indoctrination from Christian pastors. There's nothing in Isaiah about Jesus, and especially not in Isaiah 53. And in fact, Isaiah repeatedly shows in 44:1 and 45 and 49 that it specifically is not talking about Jesus.
So who's 53 about? Who's it about?
I'm sorry. Pause that on the 53. Pause that real quick. Anyone who throws money at us, we got to pause for the show's sake. Thank you so much, Agro Mage. This is M. M was on the channel earlier. Here, the saint who allegedly sundered Donar's Thor's Grove is Saint Boniface. Had a blast. Thank you for everything you do, Derek. M, it was a blast. Look, I don't usually do this, but it was a good time. No, that was great. Okay, Isaiah 53. Ask your question again, Toronto, because Dave didn't hear it.
Okay, yeah, who's it about then if it's not about Jesus? I mean, there's plenty of reasons why I think it's about Jesus, but okay, tell me why you don't think it's about Jesus. Or it's about the Messiah.
For example, I think we need to understand that, agree, first of all, that Isaiah is written over centuries by several different authors.
I don't have to agree with that. Why do I have to agree with that? Wait. Why do I have to agree with that? In order for your argument,
if you don't, that's fair enough. I respect that.
Okay.
Fair enough. Okay, no problem. But I would say, you've asked me a question, why do I think Isaiah 53 is not about Jesus? And to answer that, I will go straight back to Isaiah 44, verse 1, because I believe that's where we start to understand the picture of who Isaiah is talking about, or at least the text of Isaiah is talking about. And it says in 44, verse 1, "But now listen, O Jacob, my servant." We then go into 44 and verse 4, 45, sorry, and verse 4, where it says, "For the sake of Jacob, my servant." And it mentions Israel or Jacob, and the suffering servant, I think 6 times in the ensuing chapters from 44 leading up to 53. And it makes it clear on 3 of those occasions that it is talking about Israel, not about a coming Messiah. It also makes it clear on other occasions with reference that this suffering servant is not clean and not spotless, which is not Jesus, therefore. And so it's got all these introductory passages, and then we come into
got it. Can I explain now? Okay. Oh, okay. Go on, please. Sorry.
And so I believe it just has the setting that that's not Jesus. You then mentioned and I'm not trying to be confrontational
can we go
or
back
put down
now,
your view, but you mentioned that Isaiah 53 says about whoever it's talking about dying and coming back to life. And I would challenge that and say nowhere in Isaiah 53 does it say anything about resurrection. It only says about death, which is firstly against what all the Jews believed about their coming Messiah. And secondly, just the only thing we've got is pierced for our transgressions in verse 5, which is the thing that Christians most hang on to because of the sword going into Jesus's side. And then the final verses of 53, you pointed out, verse 12, therefore I will give him a portion among the great, and he will divide the spoils with the strong, because he poured out his life unto death and was numbered with the transgressions. For he bore the sin of many and made intercession for the transgressors. All you've got is that he was pierced and he bore the sin of many and died.
Can I just go back to the thing you were saying? First of all, there's a lot of stuff. Wait, he's saying a lot of stuff.
Before you respond, please, before you respond.
Wow, dude. Wow, really?
This is what he's talking about. Before you respond, this is what he's talking about. You see my screen, right? So if you start at Isaiah 41, heading to 53, at 41:8-9, but you Israel my servant. Stop. You Israel my servant Jacob. So Isaiah 41, who's the servant here?
Yeah, I know, Israel. Yeah. I was gonna explain that, man. Dude, he already made the case. He already made that case, dude. Can I please? Dude, wow.
No, wait, no, wait a minute. Wait a minute, bro. You get the floor.
Okay.
So at 41, we can see who the servant
is.
Israel.
It's Israel. Yeah, I get it. It's Israel.
43, Israel's the servant. 44,
Israel's the servant. I get it. So he already made that case.
So listen. So my question is, if I keep reading, starting from 40 all the way to 53, that the servant is Israel, why would I get to 53?
No, you're not gonna. That's not what's gonna happen, dude. Because I was just about to make the case.
Listen,
you're not even letting me say my case.
Listen, I haven't got the question out.
Stop talking. Stop talking. You're embarrassing.
I haven't got the question out yet.
Go to 49. Can you go to 49?
Listen.
Wow,
I haven't got the question out,
dude. He already made the case. Yes. Okay. Israel's the servant. Okay. I get it.
So I'm asking if I start.
Yeah, I heard your question. It's not going to go to 53.
Listen, if I go
49,
if I'm
49, go to 49. 49.
Listen.
So Derek, can I put my Bible up? Can I put my Bible up?
You guys. Okay, hold on. Morpheus, make a final point here, and then let's let Toronto do his response, because I don't want to gang up. This is why I'm not jumping in, Toronto, just so you know. I ain't trying to tag team WWF tonight, okay? Go ahead, Morpheus. Go ahead.
What I'm saying, you guys always say context is king, correct? Right? Context is king.
Yeah, I know. That's what I'm about to show you the context, dude. You just like
Toronto, stop for a second.
Okay, okay.
If context is king, and we're reading a story, right? We're reading a book, and we're starting. No, context is king. If I start from 41. And I go all the way, and I keep seeing Israel the servant, Israel the servant, Israel the servant, Israel the servant. When I get to 53, why would I think the servant is someone else?
Dude, okay.
Oh my
God. Yeah, I heard you. I heard you.
Toronto share now. Go ahead,
dude.
Toronto.
Now, thank you, Derek. Thank you.
Yep.
Okay, so
Let's
now
see
what I was going to show. what I was going to show is that it does not proceed like that. What it does is it switches. Okay, so in this verse, most commentators will say that this is actually Jesus speaking, or the Messiah speaking. Listen, O isles, unto me, and hearken ye from the far. The Lord hath called me from the womb, from the bowels of my mother hath he made mention of my name. All right, and then when you read on, what he says here is, and now saith the Lord that formed me from the womb to be his servant. Now this is still Jesus speaking, or the Messiah is still speaking. Okay, the servant. And now saith the Lord that formed me from the womb to be his servant, to bring Jacob again to him. So you see, so the servant is Jacob, the nation of Israel, but it is also this single person who is being given to Israel as a savior. And that's why this thing needs to be read carefully and not just jumping over texts. So what we can see here is,
hell no.
Wow, now he's
I gotta interrupt you on that. That's a false interpolation, and that's your eisegesis of the Bible. And what we're not finna allow is eisegesis of the Bible. One thing that we do know, the difference between is exegesis and eisegeting. And you're eisegeting the Bible, bruh. We don't need your eisegesis.
How am I doing that?
Because Isaiah 53 is not talking about no future tense person. It's talking about the person that was actually talked about during that time, during the war, bro. So you cannot prophesy or say that it's talking about future. I know you hurt. I know you hurt. Yes, you are. Isaiah 53. Isaiah 53 is not about Jesus, bro. You have to stop. Eisegeting is not going to help you. So can you please give us the correct exegesis of Isaiah 53? I would like the correct exegesis of Isaiah 53.
When Isaiah 53
the correct exegesis of Isaiah 53.
Hold on. When it says this, for he shall grow up before him as a tender plant, he shall. This is the future tense, right?
It's not talking about Jesus.
When we shall see him.
I'm answering your question. Don't try to make me answer your question the way you think I'm going to answer it. I'm answering your question.
I asked if it's future tense,
but it's not. It is future tense, but it's not talking about Jesus. It's talking about the person that Isaiah was speaking on.
I know. Yeah, the person he's speaking on, which is the servant. All right, so let's go.
No, it wasn't.
49.
No, it wasn't because Emmanuel. Because we're not going back to Isaiah. We're not going back to Isaiah 7:14, where Emmanuel is supposed
to go to 49. Hold on a second. Dude, just relax.
We're not doing none of that. We're not doing none of that futurism, none of that presentism.
Interrupting. That's how you can avoid the obvious evidence here. Now, as I was sharing,
interrupting, you're lying and you're being disingenuous. You're exegeting because you're exegeting the Bible. So, do you know the difference? Do you know the difference between eisegesis? Do you know the difference between eisegesis and exegesis?
Yes, I do. Yes, I know.
Okay. So are you eisegeting or exegeting? Are you eisegeting? Because I guarantee you're eisegeting the Bible. Because if I went to the all right, watch this. I'm gonna let you go ahead and continue to lie, and I'm finna go get the correct exegesis of Isaiah 53.
All right. As I was saying to you guys, the servant here is clearly not Israel or Jacob, but it's meant to bring Jacob again to him, again to the Lord. So the servant there's two figures being referred to as the servant in Isaiah's servant songs. All right. One is the nation of Israel. One is the Messiah. And here we see the Messiah is sent to gather Israel, to gather them and to be a light unto the Gentiles. Okay. So look how it says, it is the light thing that thou shouldest be my servant to raise up the tribes of Jacob. So the servant is not Jacob in this text, right? The servant is someone to raise up Jacob, the nation of Israel. But also, it's a light thing for him to do only that. He's also going to, he's also going to restore the preserved of Israel, but he's also going to be a light unto the Gentiles. So this is the Messiah of the world, all right? And we can see that the servant is being discussed in Isaiah 53 from the late part of Isaiah 52, because as you know, these are all one text. These are not separated into chapters back then. Behold, my servant shall deal prudently. He shall be exalted and extolled and be very high. This is Isaiah 52:13. This is right before Isaiah 53. Is the servant, all right? So when we get to Isaiah 53, who has believed our reports, and to whom is the arm of the Lord revealed? The arm of the Lord is the servant.
Wrong.
Okay. We shall grow up before him as a tender plant. This is shall. This is future tense. Future tense. Shall grow up as a tender plant.
Yeah, the future tense doesn't work. I got the correct exegesis.
We shall see him. There is no
That's why Derek's smiling at you. That's why Derek is smiling at you ruefully. Because Derek knows this is wrong. Hey, if you were right, Derek would be agreeing with you. Derek isn't agreeing with you. That's why he has that rueful smile on his face.
There's never going to agree with you. Derek knows very well. My argument is better than your guys' argument. This is clear.
It actually is. So the suffering servant, Jesus, bro. That's horrible.
Hey, just so let me tune in here. Let me just say this. I'm not saying anything because I have an episode coming in Toronto. You're welcome to join, and it's going to be does Isaiah 53 predict the Messiah? I ain't trying to give away my jewels. You don't want to know. I've got a lot to say on this, so just stay tuned.
Interesting.
You know what I'm saying?
But you know, Derek. Then at least if you're familiar with this subject, then you know those texts I showed you, Isaiah 49. You must be aware of what our argument is, right? And that we don't just think. And who is it? Morpheus. You're saying to me that why should I think that the servant is anyone but Israel through all these chapters? You skipped over Isaiah 49. Why didn't you look at that? Because Isaiah 49 makes it clear, and there's other places too where it seems to be referring to a person. I think it's Isaiah 40.
First of all, you didn't let me, Toronto. You didn't let me continue because I was going to go to 49 and then go to 53 or 54.
Okay, so what's your argument about 49 then?
Why do you keep talking? You notice the whole time you was talking, I was quiet. The whole time you was talking, I was quiet.
Okay.
Why do y'all think he stopped at 53? Why do you think he stopped at 53? Because 54 cooks you. If you just keep going, but why do you think he did that? But watch this.
Why don't you explain? Wait. Why don't you explain what 49 is all about? Why don't you explain that?
Keep talking when I'm talking. The whole time you was talking, I was quiet, bro. The whole time. Right?
Why don't you tell me what was wrong with my explanation of 49? Can you tell me that? What's wrong with that? What I said?
Oh my God! I'm trying. Like I said, if I start from where it begins at 40 and I keep going, you're saying, hey, yes, it does say Israel, it does say Israel, but when we get to 53, let's make a turn. Let's get off the highway and let's go someplace else, and then we'll jump back on. That's what you just did.
49. Explain to me 49. I just talked about 49.
Watch this. Let me show you an easy kill. Let me show you the easy kill shot.
That mentioned 49 first, and in verse 3, it clearly says that Israel is the servant.
Yeah,
as it does in 44.
Yeah, no. It's calling.
45.
It's calling. Hold on. No. Look at 45. It doesn't say that. 45
I did.
Says,
I mentioned 45.
45 says.
Watch this.
The Lord
Let me show you the
from the womb
easy
to
kill
be his
shot.
servant to bring
45
Jacob
verse
to him.
4 says, "For the sake of Jacob, my servant."
Yeah, exactly. No.
The servant is Jacob yet again.
No.
6 times it
You got a
states
different
that
translation.
Israel is the
You got a
servant.
different translation. You got a different translation there. But the womb,
Watch this.
in 49:5 says, "The Lord hath formed me from the womb to be his servant, to bring Jacob again to him." Jacob is brought to him. And so the servant is supposed to bring Jacob
That's a good point.
to the Lord. All right. And
That's a
also
good point.
49:3, generally, people think that this is talking, the servant is referring to the man again, because it's, thou art my, he said unto me, a person, said unto me, thou art my servant, O Israel.
And
because that's why Matthew talks about how Jesus is Israel as well. Like in Matthew
Hey, Derek, can I show you the easy kill shot? Want me to show you the easy kill shot?
Go ahead.
Here's the easy shot. You ready?
Are you sharing your
ready
screen
for
or something?
I want to ask, is it okay?
Yeah, I mean, go for it.
Okay, watch this. Here's the easy kill shot. Watch this. 1 second. I want to go right here. This is the easy kill shot. There's no surviving after that.
I don't see it.
Wait, 1 second. I'm trying to put it up. Okay, where am I at? I got like 4 screens going. It's a 2, 3. Wait 1 second, please. Nope, that's not the one I want. I want this. Please. This is the kill shot right here, y'all. This is how you shut it all down. Here you go. I want to go to Isaiah. Here you go. Now you said Isaiah, right? Is talking about Jesus, correct? Is the Messiah, correct?
Yeah, but it's both. I did make note of the fact that he's using both. He's referring to both the nation of Israel and the Messiah as the servants at different times in this song, the servant song. Okay. No, so I did make that clear. All right, go ahead.
Okay, that's fine. So from your understanding, when Isaiah is talking about the Messiah, as according to your argument, that's talking about Jesus, correct?
Yeah, in 53 and in 49.
No. So the rest of the time,
Jesus.
Wait, hold on. So you said, I want to understand your argument. Are you saying the rest of the times it's not talking about Jesus?
I'm saying he switches back and forth between referring to the nation of Israel or the Jews or whatever as Israel or the servant. And then it's other times he'll refer to the Messiah as the servant. And it goes
the
back
most predominant prophecy claimed by Christians is that Isaiah, when it refers to the servant, it is saying it is referring to Jesus. And every single time that the servant is referred to, it is not about Jesus.
No. That's what I'm saying to you. That's what I'm saying to you, brother. Listen. If Christians say that, they don't understand. Okay, Christians should understand.
They all say it. They say it. I've listened to many pastors
They're incorrect. All right, well, they're incorrect.
I preached upon it myself and said
all
the
right,
same.
well, you were incorrect when you said that because this is what Isaiah is clearly doing. Isaiah is clearly doing this. Clearly, he's doing this thing where. Excuse me. Hold on. Isaiah is doing this thing, and I showed it just now. I just showed it. Isaiah is doing this thing where he refers to the nation as the servants, and then in another text he'll refer to the Messiah as the servants. So, Isaiah 49, he refers to the Messiah as the servants. Isaiah 53, the servant is Isaiah 52 at the end. 53.
No, where in 49 does it refer to the Messiah as the servant? Which verse?
This is what I'm saying to you. In Isaiah 49, it begins the
Which
Messiah
verse?
is speaking. Listen to me.
But he's asking you a specific question, Toronto.
I know.
Where is the Messiah?
All the way right from 49:1 to I think 8 or 7.
Okay, let me share my screen real quick here so we can all look at this together. Because
49:3 is the first reference.
No, I know, but 49:3, as you can see there, it's a person, one single person saying to God that God refers to him as my servant. You are my servant, right? That's because it's not the
So I actually went and broke down the exegesis, the correct exegesis of Isaiah 53, and it has nothing to.
The servant is the true Israel. Okay, this is what's happening here.
Go back, David. Go back a little bit to 6. Go back to 6.
If he said Israel, that means the true Israel isn't Jesus. It's the whole land of Israel. Jesus is a particular person. You're not that smart, bro.
Israel is the nation. Israel.
Toronto, please. Because I want to know your position. In your position, is Jesus God?
Of course.
So he can't be Israel, idiot. Watch this. Stop for a second. Watch this. So can God have a God?
Well, look at some
It's a yes or no. It's a yes or no.
Well, a certain psalm does say that, exactly that. God,
I'm asking you yes or no. I'm asking you yes or no.
I said yes. I said yes.
So
yes, he can.
God can have a God?
Yeah, Jesus is God and he has a God. Yes. So yes.
Wait a minute.
Yeah, look at Psalm. Look at Psalm. Is it Psalm 110?
Wait. Derek,
thy
Derek.
God or God, thy God.
Stop.
So basically, when Jesus, hold on, Morpheus, because when Jesus was on the cross and he asked Eloi, Eloi, sabachthani, my God, why hast thou forsaken me? He didn't know he was going to be crucified, even though he's supposed to be God, right? Like at this point, your whole argument falls apart. Because if Jesus is God and he's supposed to know that he was going to be sacrificed, there's no reason for him to be asking himself, why is he going to sacrifice himself for the sins of the world? Hey, again, go check your whole ideology again, yo. Because if Jesus is God, I know you hurt, but let me land.
I'm not hurt. I don't care. It's like I feel sorry for you that you think this is like a legitimate argument.
Let me finish.
I feel sorry for you, honestly. I really do.
Because again, if Jesus is God and he knew that he was going to be sacrificed, there would be no reason for him to say, my God, why hast thou forsaken me? If not your will, if not my will, your will. Because it's his will.
Can I speak now?
I know you're mad, and I know you want to interrupt, and I know you want to do the usages and the apologetics.
You're the one yelling. You're the one yelling at the top of your lungs.
I wouldn't be yelling.
Do I look mad? Do I look mad right now?
I was talking.
Do I look mad? No,
I was talking. Can I finish? Can I finish? Hey, bro.
Well, I don't look mad. I don't look mad. I'm not mad. Okay, I'm
dude, can I finish? Cool. So again, according to your paradigm, if Jesus is Yahweh and Yahweh is Jesus, that question would not have been asked. So again, your paradigm falls apart.
No. Again, you don't understand my paradigm. It's a three persons in one God, and one of those persons, Jesus, has two natures, a God nature and a man nature. And also, by the way, I think when he says that, I think he's actually just quoting Psalm 22. But there's a debate about that as well. But when he says, "My Lord, my God, why hast thou forsaken me?" Like that's a debatable thing too. So I don't know. You're acting like it's so simple.
I got a simple question.
You just destroy Christianity. Like, dude, come on, man.
Toronto, I got a simple question. Yelling, no arguing. It's a simple question.
Let's go back to Isaiah. Let me cook you guys on Isaiah. Or I don't even want to cook.
Wait, I have a question
Let me
first.
explain to you guys why you guys are wrong about Isaiah.
What's up, James?
Derek, how much longer do you want to go, just so that I know?
I don't want to go much longer, guys, because I got dinner. I can smell brewing in the kitchen, and got to respect the queen. But listen, we will do this again in the future. I promise. As long as we play nice and we got to manage ourselves too. Keep in mind that we got to get before James asks his questions. Morpheus, I want you to ask your question too. Listen, we got to commend Toronto, though. I mean, honestly, the fact that he's in the Lions Den hanging out, you got to give him some credit. Okay, he's in the Lions Den now. That is much respect to Toronto.
No doubt.
No doubt, James. Ask away, my friend. I want to wrap things up in about 15 max. If we can do that, I don't have nothing to say. You guys have fun. Let's see.
All right. For the moment, I don't have a question. I am well versed in all the different positions here. I want to point out to Sabio, even though I agree with the points that you're making, if we allow ourselves to get that kind of an energy, right, that kind of a volume, that kind of energy, then we end up making our own position seem less tenable than it is, right? And it's important not to let these disagreements steal our peace regardless, because health matters, right? At the end of the day, if Toronto Bible Study never changes his mind about these issues, the sky will not fall, right? The cities will not burn, and you'll be okay.
Facts. I agree. And
I've got to say that I utterly respect what Toronto Bible Study is saying. totally.
It was more
And
that he
it's
was
a joy to speak to him. But I must say, I do disagree with him. But I respect his view, and I love hearing it.
And Dave said,
I love it.
I do too. And it's not even that. It was more that I was being interrupted, and I do my best not to interrupt him. So that's really what it was, James. And I've learned a lot from you also, James 8%. I've listened to you on MythVision and other panels. I've learned a lot.
Yeah, been around a lot. I appreciate that, Sabio.
Yeah. The same here, James. That's cool.
Yes, I have.
So, Toronto, I got a simple question about Isaiah, right? Concerning
share the screen?
right? Yes, please.
Yes. Okay.
Yeah. So, in your position, is my screen sharing?
Hold on, I gotta remove. So, can you remove yours, Toronto?
Yeah,
Just so I can...
I'm gonna remove.
Sorry about that.
I don't know why it wasn't letting me pull up his. So, try it again.
Here we go. So this is real quick. Toronto, in Isaiah 2:3-5, right? Who is this according to your exegesis, whatever? Who is this about?
Isaiah 2:3-5.
Yes, who is this about?
Isaiah what?
What? Isaiah? Oh, you say 42:35? Or what is it? Sorry, I can't read it.
Chapter 2, verse 3. Would you like for me to read it?
Oh, chapter 2, verse 3. Oh.
Would you like for me to read
this is talking about the Lord, when they come back to see the Lord in Zion. So the Lord here is just the Father. I don't think it's necessarily the Son, although some people would say that it is the Son. But that's I don't think it's kind of irrelevant to
Toronto
song, but yeah.
Isaiah 2:3-5, right? In every Christian circle that I have ever been in, studied with, listened to, this is be talking about the Messiah, right? And what's going to happen when he comes, right? And it says when he comes. Well, so in Isaiah, look, so if you're in the first century, you're a Jew in the first century, and you're reading Isaiah 2:3-5, right?
Yeah.
And you're a Jew, right? So there's no New Testament, there's no Paul, there's no none of that. You're a Jew in the first century, and you read this expectation about the Messiah, right? He shall judge among the nations. He shall rebuke many people, and they shall beat their swords into plowshares and their spears into pruning hooks. Nation shall not lift up sword against nation, neither shall they learn war anymore. Now, if I'm a Jew, I'm in first century Palestine, and I'm reading this, right? This tells me that this Mashiach, Messiah, when he comes, there's going to be world peace. There's going to be world peace. Nation is not going to fight anymore, right? They're going to take their swords, turn it into plowshares, and so forth, according to the reading. Right? So my question is, when Jesus came, if he is or was that expected Messiah.
Oh my, yes. So there will be world peace. Is that what you're trying to say? That, dude, wow.
Yeah, so true. So true.
So
I'm coming back to you guys.
But my question to you is, this is the expectation.
Okay, yeah, I get your question. I get it.
All the expectations failed. Every expectation of Isaiah failed.
Right. Did that happen?
Listen, bro. Can I answer the question now? Can I answer the question? Holy dude. Anyway, this is what happened here. First of all, this doesn't say Messiah anywhere in this passage. The word Messiah does not appear in this passage. Okay, this is talking about the Lord. The Lord is going to sit on his holy hill, and the people are going to come to the Lord, and they're going to turn their spears into pruning hooks, whatever. The word Messiah does not appear here. So why would a first century Palestinian or whoever expect that the Messiah Jesus is going to cause this to happen? Why would they expect that? What are you talking about? Why are you making this? Why are you making this knockdown? Oh, we just destroyed Christianity. What you're reading of 2:3-5.
Did you notice?
It mentions in the last days, in the second verse of Isaiah 2, it says in the last days. And so clearly The main character,
Yeah, it's
the
about the last
protagonist
days.
in the last days, is the Messiah. It's not about what's going on halfway through the movie. It's what's happening at the end of the movie. And in the last days, we have this character. It's clearly wanting to try and interpose the Messiah. But I find that strange with respect and love to you that you've spent all this time telling us how Isaiah is referring to the Messiah. And then, as soon as we're at Isaiah 2, you're trying to put it that it's not about the Messiah. With respect, I find that confusing.
All right, let me explain that. Let me explain it very clearly. This passage never suggests any other person is involved except for the Lord. L-O-R-D, capital letter Lord, right? So, Yahweh, all right, or whatever you guys say, right? So, why would I think the Messiah is involved here? But in Isaiah 49 or other passages I was showing you there, you see the Lord talking about this other person, or this other person talking about himself who's referring to the Lord. So you see there's two different persons there.
God is one.
That's
so
why.
You think the Messiah is Yahweh, surely, because the Messiah is homoousios, is the same substance, is part of the Trinity. Our God is one. You think that they're interchangeable. Jesus and Yahweh are surely, according to the Bible, are interchangeable.
Yeah, but listen, the reason why you're asking me why I would think that there's this Messiah reference as opposed to just the Lord, right? Whereas where I'm saying in Isaiah 2, we have only the one person of the Lord being referred to, the person. So we would just think the Father. That's how a reader back then would think. Back then they didn't think the Messiah was God back then, right? So then when they read 49 now, they see there's this other person speaking, talking about the Lord. So that's two persons. That's why I can say, okay, this is about the Messiah, and he's going to come. And then you see also in Isaiah that the Lord refers to the servant as, he says, I am he. You know, he literally says about the servant, my servant is, I am he. He says that. So we can see these.
What does verse 3 say of Isaiah 2? What does Isaiah 2 verse 3 say?
Isaiah 49:3 says it's the servant.
No, we're
speaking.
back to Isaiah 2. We're talking about Isaiah 2. What does Isaiah 2 verse 3 say, please?
And many people shall go away and say, come ye and let us go up into the mountain of the Lord, to the house of the God of Jacob. He will teach us of his ways, walk in his paths, for out of Zion shall come forth the law, and the word of the Lord from Jerusalem. Where is this? Where is the Messiah being referred to?
Is the word of the Lord?
No, don't go there. Don't go there, man, because these people back then.
No, it's a genuine question. It's a genuine question. Who or what is the word of the Lord?
I'm not going to suggest to you that the word of the Lord here is referring to Jesus. I'm not going to say that to you. And we don't have no reason to believe that. And the readers back then wouldn't have thought that. Okay? The word of the Lord here is just the word of the Lord. It's just the word of the Lord. And so I don't think Christians today shouldn't interpret this as the word of the Lord referring to Jesus. I don't believe they should. There may be some people who do make that kind of claim, but I don't think that's right.
It sounds like Dave and Toronto are on the same page.
Associate the word Christians, the audience today, the Christian audience today, they say the word of the Lord is Jesus. So they would say, and it's ironic because we're arguing counter positions here. When you're saying it's Isaiah's referring to the Messiah, I'm saying it isn't. When you're saying it isn't, I'm saying it is. And here's a question for you. If this is breathed by God or inspired by God, this text, this passage, this entire book, why would we be here debating the meaning of it? How unclear is it? If indeed Isaiah jumps between, as you suggest, talking about the suffering servant as Israel and then talking about the Messiah, and whether it's talking about the present time that it's written or it's talking about some future time, some several hundred years later, or indeed sometime centuries after that, this is the great failing, surely, of any deity, in that his text would be so vague that we are here discussing, debating, and disagreeing upon what it means. And I say that with great respect, because you might be right, I might be wrong, but I really am confused as to why the text can't be clear. And I read it every single day.
I agree with that. But hold on, guys.
Clearness. What are you talking about? Clarity. Oh, sorry. Yeah, Derek. What are you saying, buddy?
Say what?
You got time? You got time for me to respond to Dave here? But I know
Yeah,
James wants to jump in.
five more. Let's do 5 more minutes.
All right. Well, okay, Dave. Just to respond to you quickly, I don't think clarity in what you're speaking of is necessarily God's priority. He has a book. It's difficult at times to understand, but I do believe it's perspicuous, or perspicuity is part of the text, so that we can understand it. But it takes effort, like any complex text, just like Shakespeare, just like any complex text requires effort and study. But I do think that the important things are easily understood, such as salvation is by believing in Jesus Christ. You believe in Jesus Christ, you will never die. These kind of basic things are easy to understand in the text. Other things are more difficult to understand. They require study, they require scholarship, they require a deep analysis. All right, so that's how I would respond to your.
Do not require salvation, particularly not from vicarious redemption from another. Not me.
Well, that's aside from my point, though. My point is just that the Bible makes certain things clear to even a little child. Believe in Jesus, you will never die. Other things it makes more difficult and more sophisticated. It requires more study and more effort, because it's not
study every day.
Well, that doesn't mean you're going to understand everything every day. And if you don't understand anyway,
but you just said it requires more study, and so I'm going to be respectful to you, but please, my friend, let's not
listen, Dave,
infer that I don't study enough or don't.
I'm not suggesting that at all. But it's funny. It's funny that you're not even aware of these positions. The positions that I'm talking to you about are the standard.
To Toronto, I'm going to leave, right? But I just want you to know there's a bunch of Christian scholars that agrees Isaiah 2, 3, 4, right? They all agree with what I'm saying.
There's some people that make those claims. Whatever. Stop. It doesn't say that in the text.
Toronto, stop,
dude.
Man.
They're saying that now as Christians, bro.
What's wrong with you, man? You got what's wrong?
Respectful without suggesting that other people in this chat need to study more.
Yeah,
I never said that. I never said that, Dave. I never said that.
Okay, that's cool. That's cool. No problem.
Toronto, what's going on? Every time I talk, bro, when you talk, I don't say nothing.
Okay, go ahead.
Hey, can I, as we've only got a few minutes left, can I in the last few minutes just change the subject and focus it on Derek? And I want to say something to Derek, if I may. Can we
let Morpheus
we've only got a few minutes left.
Oh, Christian
Dave, go ahead, Morpheus. Finish what you have to say, and then I want to split Dave's.
Right. Then I'm going to go right. There are Christian scholars, not non-Christian scholars. Scholars, you're a scholar. There are Christian scholars that all agree Isaiah chapter 2 is about a messianic prophecy. Right?
Okay. But that doesn't mean.
Oh my God. You know what, Derek? I gotta go, man. This guy right here.
I'm just saying that doesn't mean that people in first century Palestine would have thought that, or would have even had that on their mind.
Dude,
only
you let a person finish their point.
Yo,
can you let a person finish what they say? This is getting annoying. You cut everybody off.
Hold up, Dave. I'm gonna say goodbye. Good talking to you, Dave. James, I appreciate you.
Yeah, thank you, Morpheus. Love talking to you.
But Derek, thanks a lot. And I'm always here. I'm always around, bro.
Of course. Morpheus is my brother here. Thank you so much.
And Toronto, love talking to you.
All right, bro. You have a good one.
So we got a couple of minutes left. So can I put something back to Derek?
Sure.
Derek, as I said, it's an honor to be part of this. I've been following you for so long. And honestly, I've learned so much from all the different interviews and discussions you've had with all the different scholars. I mean, my passion is to study the formation of Judaism and its development. And I've learned so much from you.
Thank you.
But I've got to say, and I say this tongue in cheek as we're in the last couple of minutes, I lost a tiny little bit of respect for you yesterday or the day before. You put up a notice about how you're going to have Jonathan Sheffield on your show.
Yeah. Jonathan, he's a personal friend of mine.
You mentioned how he'd had this debate with Bart Ehrman.
Yes.
And that Bart had said, this was the most remarkable opening statement I've come across regarding the resurrection of Jesus. So all I want to say is I love you, man. I love you more than you could know. And in fact, you look just like my best friend at high school, and he was the cleverest and strongest guy I ever knew. And you look just like him every time I look at you. But I've got to say, what you said about this Sheffield and Airman debate was the first time ever I've thought, Derek, you've gone mad. Because
I never. Dave.
Recommendation.
So Dave, let me say one thing. I never watched the debate yet. Jonathan told me to check out the 30-minute mark. He told me, "Hey, take this quote." He said, "Take this quote, put it at the front commercial." And I said, "I'm definitely down." He wants me to have a raw, honest reaction. Never watched the debate, but I have heard through the grapevine that Bart runs him through the coals. And so listen. He's a friend.
More than run him into the coals. And if you even go on Jonathan's YouTube channel where he posted it, pretty much every comment, 97% of all the comments are absolutely deriding Mr. Sheffield beyond belief. And I know that people can be quite extreme in their comments. You know, I spend every moment of my free time watching you or other people or reading my Bible and discussing it and hoping to encounter people like Mr. Toronto Bible Study to learn from him or hear his view, which I love and respect. But honestly, that Jonathan Sheffield debate against Byerman was one of the most one-sided, silly Billy interviews ever, and I can't wait for you to have him on your show, because I myself want to join in deriding him. He said one of the most ridiculous things I've ever heard, and Bart was in total disbelief. He was in utter. He couldn't comprehend just how stupid the comment was.
So that's what. So you're saying
I want to say that I still love you 99%, but the day before yesterday it was 100%, my man.
Yeah, but I think
now you've gone down 1%.
Oh man, I got to make it up. But
I still love you, and thank you so much. Thank you,
Dave. Before I let you go, I obviously haven't seen it. Jonathan said, "Hey, check this out." Bart was impressed. This was the most remarkable argument he had ever heard, and he's like, "Take that." He believes and interprets that as a real compliment for his view. So I'm like, okay, well, I want to see it raw, because I don't have 2.5 hours to just spare. 3.5, whatever it is.
One of the main points that Mr. Sheffield made was that Christianity must be true because a succession of early Roman Empire emperors did not put down the big Christian uprising. And Bart was in total disbelief because he declared there was no big Christian uprising. That, you know, he even went through the figures and he said, look, you know, it says that on the day of Pentecost there was 5,000, and a little while later there was another 3,000. He said that basically the statistics, the data demonstrates and lends itself to the fact that even by the end of the first century there was only 10,000 Christians, that there wasn't sort of 8,000 in the first 2 months and then all the rest of it. And so therefore the reason why that the early emperors did not put down the big Christian uprising was simply because there was no big Christian uprising, and that was just par for the course for the entire debate. And Mr. Sheffield, and I've listened to a lot of Bart's debates, a lot of other debates, a lot of conversations you've had with people and other podcasters and presenters and intellectuals and scholars have had. As I say, I spend every moment of my free time doing it, but I've still so much to learn. But I've barely ever encountered somebody so tongue-tied and lost and stuttering and bewildered as Mr. Sheffield, even though I must end by saying he probably knows far more than me. But still, I've never encountered such utter... It was laughable. Bart is... I know Bart over the years, he started to laugh a lot more and chuckle, and he's sort of a bit more relaxed, especially in his retirement. But he was utterly gobsmacked at the strangeness. And at one point he said, look, I really don't know what you're saying. You seem to be advocating for my position, so I'm totally lost. What are you saying?
That's sure.
I haven't seen it. Oh, James, go ahead.
Those are our spoiler alerts for the upcoming show. So
yeah. Look, I never watched a single bit of this debate yet, and you're already spoiling the movie. Now, mind you, I told Jonathan when he comes on, I'm going to be honest. I'm going to tell you how I honestly feel, not to hurt his feelings, but like my thoughts about the debate and where I think Bart's right and he's wrong. But Jonathan's like, hey, bro, can you do me a favor? Let's promote this debate. Let's, can you promote it? He's interested in doing it and he wants to come on my channel. And he said he wants to have the opportunity to explain where he didn't get to really get his words out, whatever. I'm like, okay, that's fine. But as long as I can give some critique back. But gentlemen, the kitchen is calling me. The kitchen is calling me. But Dave, give me back that 1% Toronto. Thank you so much for taking all these punches from everybody.
Thank you. Thank you. Hope to speak to you again, my friend. Respect you and love you. And to you other guys. Love and respect.
God bless. Savio, love you, man. Thank you for coming in, bro.
Good night.
Thank you. And James, you too. Really, really thank you so much for everybody coming in.
Thank you, Darren.
I'm going to try to make this continue while I'm in North Carolina, my mother-in-law's house. So
I'd love to take part again. I would love to, because you're always speaking to scholars and PhD people. And although I can tell you that I first gave a sermon at the age of 10, which is many decades ago, I'm not a PhD man. But I would love to talk to you more about anything biblical, or indeed my own experience, but love you. Thank you. Really appreciate it.
Dave, email me. Please reach out. I
will do.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Enjoy your dinner, first time I joined your panel talking about Paul. From the first time I joined your panel talking about the lies of Paul. And Romans 3:7. I have rocked with you. I haven't forgotten that. And the contention that we got from Romans 3:7, and Paul said, if the truth of my lie abounds to the glory of God, why am I looked at as a sinner? And one thing that I do recognize, and you recognize, is the change in scholarship on that specific person. Thank you for allowing me to even present that to the world.
Thank you for being here, being my friend, just taking interest in the topic and joining on the panel today, man. Really cool to see you interact and join the little debate. You know what I mean? We'll have future ones. You did great. And by the way, your hair looks fantastic. We saw the whole damn thing. You know what I mean? But
right,
seriously.
thanks, guys.
James, thank you for being a great mod. I want to just say thank you. You've been modding now on MythVision for a long time. You try to give a lot of leniency. And I know that sometimes we got to lay the hammer down when people do act up, understanding that YouTube can try to hurt videos that people are communicating in hateful ways. And I don't want hate at all in any of my chats. Obviously nothing that is bigoted, hateful, racist, anything like that. We don't tolerate it, but you have dealt with that. You've been here in the chat helping make sure that doesn't happen. We had someone actually pop in the private chat. I don't know if you see the communication there. Someone jumped in earlier, and this is the only problem when we do these kind of things, is there's hateful people out there that just ignorant people who come in and they drop really, really rude, derogatory statements as soon as they see someone who doesn't look like them in the private chat on my end. And I'm like, yo, I'm not tolerating that shit for a second. So anyway, thank you, James, for all the modding. And Sabio, I hope you come back. Let's do this again.
Thank you, Derek. Good. So for everyone, we're out now, and never forget,
we
are
MythVision. Have a good one.
Son, do you want to know what the truth is? After this, there's no turning back. You take the blue pill and you wake up in your bed and believe whatever you want to. You take the red pill and you stay in Wonderland, and I show you just how deep the rabbit hole goes. Remember, all I'm offering is the truth, nothing more.